Hey, it's Rick here from 28mm RPG. We're gonna go ahead and bring in somebody here. Mr. Sean, check, check. Everything sounds good. Alrighty. Okay. Good choice. So, yeah, I have Big Bad RPG. Well, should be coming in with us in a little bit. But there's been a couple of questions out there. How do we start a science fiction role playing session? Just basically, how do you put it together? What kind of do you put constraints on your players? Do you have them just do the run of the mill? It doesn't have to be just Traveler. It could be any science fiction in general, really. The question is, how do you do it? Nice. Right, right. Yeah, the reason why I brought it up was because I typed in uh, into the YouTube uh, how to start a Traveler role playing game or session, and there's not very many. There's not very many. Yeah, I did the search and your videos came up, of course. Mine did. Yeah. But science fiction is such a broad stroke. There should be more, how to start a sci-fi RPG session. How do you put it together? Nothing out there. I think I'm the only one that goes into any real depth on how I start off my campaign by picking a planet or system and going from there on. But I don't really go into any detail about, okay, now that we've picked the planet, how do we go ahead and make this situation happen? Or how do you decide that? And all that kind of stuff. I know how you do it, but you can explain it for everybody, of course. Exactly. Well, when you're reading through Traveler, it doesn't really tell you how you prepare your scope, how you prepare your. It gives you a couple of like ideas for a like a situation, or it'll give you look at it, watch buy our materials. You'll be able to start a campaign or something from their stuff. Basically, that's what most people do. Yes, yes. And I don't know how we did it, man. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right? I j- yeah, I recall. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing about those old adventures is you have to read all the way through. You have to like it doesn't really give you any it may give you a blurb of the scope of the whole adventure, but it's not detailed enough that it gives you all the gist. So if you were playing it basically page by page, you can't do that. You have to go ahead and totally read that whole adventure, find out what the plot of the entire thing is by doing that, because it, like I say, it doesn't give it to you. It's usually just hidden right inside all that text, and that is a struggle for some people, especially reading that older material, because it's not really parsed out very well. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember those. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. It just makes all the letters look kind of blobby and unrecognizable after a while. Do you have an exact number of how many millions or billions? Trillions? Okay, hold on here. They're saying they can't hear Shauner. Can't hear Shauner. Okay, 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 okay. What did I do? I don't know. Let me check. Let me check. Oh my goodness. All yeah. Oh, what happened here? Okay. Let's see. Let's go to audio input capture here. See what's going on here. Run over to my mic setting. You're just out. Gone. Gonzo. Let's go to here. There. Say okay. Say test test test. Okay, okay. See what's going on here. Go ahead. I'll just go ahead and run some noise in the background because I want to have. Let me see if I can find where it's going to. Nope, that's not it.
See Gibson use? Is this like some sort of a 90s weird reissue?
Now
of
you
something
should
that's
be
been
able to hear that.
modified
That's
and
weird.
then
I had it on this setting and it went ahead and did not
that's
work.
Real 50s
Okay.
vintage, which I was
That's
just
really weird.
absolutely shocked by because their estimate is just way off. Now, apparently, this is an aftermarket big.
Sorry, you were listening to Trogley's. I watched some guitar videos on the side here. So, all right, let's get back. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for letting me know that. All right, so yeah, what we're talking about here is how to put together a game session in sci-fi in general, and some ideas, possibly some kind of input. But here we'll go ahead and bring in Shauner here now.
Hello?
Can anybody hear him?
Watch the streams.
It's there. It's there. You're going. Your signal's coming through.
All right.
All right.
I've never seen that before with StreamYard.
It had nothing to do with StreamYard. It was my OBS, and for some reason I had to go ahead and take it off of my Yeti mic, headset to back to something else, and then back onto the Yeti mic again, and it kicked in. So something was whack there.
Should I fire up my OBS and do the virtual thing and do all the weird plugins and see
it's okay as long as you don't hit that update thing. You really have to thoroughly test your OBS before you go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I did like an hour and a half stream of playing with OBS and StreamYard together.
Okay. So
it took an hour and a half to figure it out.
Yeah. So what I was saying was, first off, before it all got all messed up, there's not very many tutorials out on YouTube on even how to start a science fiction campaign, or you should be doing this, or here's some guidelines to kind of help you manage the whole thing. And that seems to be kind of what's troublesome with most game masters that come from like D&D and all this fantasy kind of stuff and decide, hey, I'm going to try a sci-fi thing. You guys in? And everybody goes, yay! Alrighty, here we go. So, Shauner, where would you start?
Well, I would start with the planet. Well, if it's Traveler we're talking about, I would start with the world generation rules. And you got variations on your planet size, the amount of water, and the weather, the atmosphere that it has. So make that first. Practice making just worlds. Then play around with the ideas of what kind of life forms are on the planet. Traveler's got all kinds of rules for animals and critters and things. And if you're looking to do sci-fi, you might see an opportunity like, oh, this would be a cool planet. It reminds me of Star Trek or Star Wars or something from The Expanse.
Yeah. So you brainstorm basically on top of what you have created so far as the planet.
Yeah, you kind of like making a sandbox to play in. Some planets, I mean, you can go full on and just do the whole 9 yards and put people and governments and tech levels and stuff like that on the planet. But then you're just going by what the random dice say, and you don't really have control of what you're doing. But if you're specifically looking for a certain kind of sci-fi, you can look at all the on the chart, you can look at the types of governments, the types of tech, and you can just pick those. Don't roll for them, just pick them and put them on the planet.
Yeah.
And you can do
Yeah.
a thing like an episode of. They had 2 episodes of Star Trek where this is from the '60s, which Traveler is pretty much based on. The episode, the Gideon, something about Gideon, where Kirk finds himself on the Enterprise, and he's the only person on board.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a girl on this ship, and what they've done was I guess they've infected her or something like that. They're trying to basically, on her planet, people live forever. The planet is overpopulated, so they're trying to invent a disease that will start killing people off because they don't have food for everybody, and there's no square footage for anyone to walk around. It's elbow to elbow with everybody. So that's one episode, kind of a sci-fi thing. It's kind of briefly shown in THX 1138
Hmm.
when the guys are out and about. They leave a warehouse and they end up in a hallway, and it's just a wall of people
Yeah, I
pushing
remember
them.
that. Yeah, it's a crazy
They-
scene. It was really well done too.
They can't even breathe. They can't see. Everything's white because everyone's wearing white, and everyone has bald heads, and it's just a kind of a coolish scene. And they're trying to escape from the police that are chasing after them. There's another Star Trek episode where the Enterprise is in orbit around this planet, and something about they get a hail from the planet saying that their ship has been nuked, and that they're being ordered to beam their crew down to the planet to be incinerated because the planet plays virtual war games. And Kirk is like, no, we're not doing this. And then they're like, what? And then they beam down to explain what's going on. And Kirk and Spock find out that these 2 planets are fighting with each other for years. And it's all run on a computer. And the computer says how many people need to be purged from each planet after each battle. And people voluntarily go into these chambers to get, erased.
Hmm.
And Kirk's like, no, don't do that. And I think they ended up blowing up the computer or something like that.
Yeah. I can't recall that episode. I'll have to brush up on my Star Trekianisms here. Start watching them again.
It's kind of similar to Colossus, the Forbin project, where you have the computer controls the nukes. And if the computer doesn't get its way, it's going to nuke some metropolitan area.
Right.
And sure enough, they don't, the humans don't comply and the town gets nuked. And people are forced to do what the computer wants them to do. Otherwise, another city gets nuked. I don't know if that's more of a dystopian. I mean, so far, what I've mentioned are dystopians. But I wanted to say that before you even start a sci-fi game, you got to talk to your players and find out what kind of sci-fi to even run a game for.
Yeah. That's important. Is kind of run it across them and get some sort of like Well, you do the movie thing. You say what movie do you like and what are you interested in, and for the scope, and that's kind of like I do that a bit with my players too. I say, okay, what do you guys want to be like a crew of a ship? Do you want to be like a band of brothers going into battle for as mercenaries? Do you want to be I give them a whole slew of like brainstormy ideas and let them kind of come up with their own kind of thing, and usually say, oh, we want to pilot a crew of a starship. And that was where we basically started with my online streams. So, and that's how we went. So I gave them a selection of different planets to say that where they're from. I gave them an idea of what each planet was like, so they can kind of concoct in their brains, the background of their character. Oh, I lived in in a cubicle on this planet. They get it has a, it's like a big giant station on a airless world kind of idea, and they see these ships coming in and going out all the time. They're not typically, you know, merchant ships, or they're mostly pirate ships and stuff. So I give them, a little kind of hints and ideas about each kind of planet that way, and then they can go ahead and start making up stuff on how they view the whole thing, and then I mix it in there and throw in the blender and away you go.
Blender.
Yep, blender it. Steve was going, something small and random normally triggers my initial idea, and then if needed, add interesting elements wrapped around, and the players explore. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a way you can do it. Just pop up with an idea. Do the make a planet according to how it should work in that kind of a situation. Then go ahead and think of what kind of the movie plot or whatever it is that you thought of. Say it was something like, oh, it's going to be a situation where whatever the players are doing, there's going to be a heist or something that pops in where they're at, which starts the ball rolling on that sort of thing. Or it could be, they have decided that they're going to find a space relic, that kind of idea. And you have this idea, okay, they're going to the space relic, what's going to be there, all that stuff. And then throw in that twist, because I love putting in like twisted things in there. And then, yeah, just whoever they are, whatever they roll them up as, be them a janitor or, a steward, or, maybe they are the former Marine sergeant, or whatever from, space troopers, and then have this mishmash. Basically they're all playing cards or something. They're having a guy's night out on the ship, and they're all playing cards when something happens, and that's where it all begins. It's either, they hear the klaxon saying that they're coming close to the object. Get ready. We're going to go ahead and get ready to disembark and do some tests and check things out on this relic. Or, it's maybe they encounter pirates on the way, and that's where it starts. Or the pirates have boarded their ship and clung on, and then suddenly everything, opens up. They're being invaded. Grab the weapons. The bonding moment is the thing that I think is crucial, because once you get all the players together in a situation where they can say, yeah, we survived this, you kind of melted those players together as a group, and they feel more like a group that way. If you had them all like, randomly associated on the ship, instead of, being like in a current situation together, it tends to be a little bit harder to kind of, herd the cats, so to speak. What do you think, Shawner?
Yeah, I agree. I think if the players are just phoning in where their characters are and what their characters are doing, like one guy's the gunner, one guy's the pilot, one guy's in sick bay, it just seems kind of like, couldn't we have started with a smaller boat? Why do we have to have the latest starship?
Yeah.
It's just 4 of us. Get like a cramped ship. Like, what was it called? The Icarus or something from Planet of the Apes?
Right,
Charlton
right.
Heston and his crew.
That was
Just
a very small ship.
Capsule. Yeah. That was a very Twilight Zone-ish size ship where you just freeze yourself. Go to another planet.
Well, we have big bad RPG in staging here, so if he's all ready, we can bring him in. He may have some questions for us.
Okay.
What's up?
Hey.
Hanging,
Hello.
hanging out with the old guard tonight.
The old guard.
The old guard.
The
What are
old
you guys
guys.
talking about?
How dare you, sir?
Yeah.
How
Move
dare
it
you?
over. Move it over a little bit. There we go.
How'd you do that?
I have OBS set up, streaming over to StreamYard, so I can do like this. Like I can put my character in the back. Watch. Boom. That's my character for my Rifts game.
He's got some of the most craziest animations I've ever seen. He does the
Yeah. I
animated
also
shorts.
have- Oh,
He
the
has
short.
animation
Thank you,
skills.
thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty
Let's
cool.
see.
Some cool
I also
stuff.
have 3D dice too, but I don't have those up right now. I love those dice.
3D dice.
Yeah.
I got 3D dice somewhere.
Where's your dice? Let's see your dice. Let's compare dice
Here
sizes.
we
my
go.
friend.
Here we go.
Oh,
There we go. Blood sports. So what's the oh I got dice.
Ashes.
I got real dice.
I got black dice in a black tray. It's hard to see.
Shauner
I'll throw
knows
the
I
dice up
have
there.
tons of dice, so I've got all
Well, I
kinds.
have tons of dice.
See if I
I
can
have
fire
my
this
gay-
up
I
for
have-
you guys.
I have my gay ass planet die
Got
bag.
got little sparkles on there, a little glitter.
Yeah, it's all the game store. That's all the game store had. Then I got my
Yeah.
camera. My webcam case is now a dice bag.
Trying
And
to
I
throw
got
my 3D ones up
some
real
more.
quick. What's the topic though? Let me hit me with some topic
Okay,
here.
well we had a fellow YouTuber. His name is Bo Paints Minis, and he
Okay.
brought up the question
camouflage.
on what because he's gonna run a game, or he's currently running a game of GURPS Sci-Fi.
Okay.
So
Group sci-fi.
yeah, GURPS Sci-Fi, and so he had some questions about like how do you guys make a sci-fi game? How do you start it? What do you do?
Boom. Those are dice right there, my friend.
Yeah, it's is that the kind of blending in the Sophie's dice, or is that something totally
Yeah, I
different?
made some traveler looking ones in case I get to play.
Cool.
The D100.
The D100. Boom. That's my baby right there.
Sophie's Dice is a pretty good little app. It's also got a
yeah.
little cheat mode in there too.
It has
What?
it has weighted dice and then balanced ones where they're always random.
Yeah,
Oh, let me take that off the screen.
it's like a
Eight
hat.
dice in a cup of ice water
Go off
and
the
see what
screen.
number floats to the top.
All right. So how to start it like a sci-fi campaign, you said?
Yeah, that's what his he needed some guidance in order to kind of ease him into it. I mean, he started with his
Yeah.
first session. I don't know how it went. I actually didn't take a look at it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I've been drinking coffee all day, so my stomach hurts, and that would be my
Oh.
inspiration, right? So I would have my guys land on some kind of planet. I don't know Traveler, just so everyone knows. I'd have them land on a planet, cultivating, some fruits and stuff, and then bring it back to the ship, and that's where, maybe some little alien eggs are in the fruit, and they drink the coffee or they eat the food, and then the bugs are crawling through their body. That would be the start. That would be the start.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So he's got the Shauner method happening. Bring in the apocalypse. It's
That's
coming.
right. It started
Well,
easy.
I
You
was-
gotta find a cure. I don't know.
There you go.
About a few minutes ago, I thought up this thing where the players are bank robbers doing a heist, because you had mentioned heist earlier.
Right.
So they're just in a regular town doing a heist. The alarm goes off. They're like, we gotta go. They grab the stuff. They head out the door. They go into an alley. The police show up, and the guys just keep walking. They ignore the police. They go in the alley, and the police chase after them, get out of the cars and run after them down this alley. They go around the corner. The guys are gone. Like, where'd they go? It was just a brick
Where'd they
wall.
go?
There's no escape.
Whoa.
And next scene is the guys are they're like in these cryogenic pod things, and they're in the future, and it takes a while for them to adjust, going because they're time travelers. And Now they're in the future. They got this stuff. They're in their naked pods, and they're all frozen or whatever. And they're like, the pods open up. They come running out, and they're all, "You asshole! What you? Now you've changed time. Now the cops are blah, blah, we weren't supposed to be detected. Yeah, yeah." The players get a chance to argue with each other what went wrong in the mission. But one of the players likes going into time because in the future, Earth is hell. It's shit.
It's already
he wants
hell.
to live in the past. So he's gonna try to rig it so he doesn't come back with the other guys on the next run. He wants to see if he can find his wife before he marries her when she's still young, that kind of thing. I haven't decided yet.
Time travel is always too much.
I
already got a million questions. Like, is the money that they stole valuable now? Like, are they going to be like,
I don't know.
That's what you're gonna find out.
There you go.
I don't know.
A PvP battle will definitely ensue.
It's like a red herring on top of a red herring on top of a red herring. Like none of it matters. It's just it's the experience.
So are you just popping things like as they play, you're just popping things into existence, basically the situations, or do you have kind of a good scope of the plot as far as what's going on with different things like organization, this organization or that or something? Do you have any kind of prep that you do ahead of that?
How far have you thought this through, Shauner?
I just have one NPC in mind.
Okay.
And half the time that NPC never gets found or discovered or interrupted, so I have to think of another NPC maybe.
Oh, so your characters kind of go off the course of what you thought they would do to encounter this NPC, and
because it's just we established that they're all okay. All the players are handcuffed in a burning barn. They don't know their names. They don't know who they are. That kind of thing. They wake up from amnesia or something. All they know is the place is on fire. What do you do? And I let the players figure out a way. I haven't prepped for how they get out of the barn. I got 3 players. One of them's bound to role play. They're doing something that makes sense, and then everyone follows what they do, and they're out.
Role play. What's role play?
Role play.
Oh, you mean I roll the dice and then ask the question?
Is the bed the bed railing? Is it made of aluminum or is it solid pipe? Is the bed made of wood? Can I saw through it if I found
the fire hot?
Yeah.
Is the fire hot?
Is the fire 2 feet from me or 2 yards from me? Because I'm thinking
what
maybe
is the yard again?
I could use my feet to hold a stick of wood and maybe light a torch from the fire and then use the torch to burn the ropes holding my. Yeah, fuck you, player.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with Venger Satanis on one of his comments, and I said I was usually watching other people's videos of live plays, and I see some atrocious stuff that is just I try to avoid. So I analyze what's going on. I'm like, okay, I want to avoid this, I want to avoid that. And he's like, well, what's the worst things that you've seen? And one of them is exactly what you said there, Shauner, is players doing the Mother May I kind of thing. And I think that's if you nip that in the bud, you're going to have a way, way better experience with the entire group. And you just have
hard to teach. It's very hard to teach someone that concept, though.
Yeah, you have to teach them to ask the questions in as a character. So instead of saying, "Can I sneak over here and then do a backstab and then do this?" No, you say no. What you do is you say, "I will sneak." That's the first thing. Then there's a roll that's been prompted, and then things roll from there on. So it's basically one thing at a time. Try and keep it paced and I try to do as few rolls as possible. I kind of look at
instead of the players saying, can I do this? Does my character know how to do this? Am I able, whatever.
Just do the thing.
Have the player say to another player or to an NPC, have them say, do you have a match? Instead of saying, does my character have matches? Is my character allowed to find a match in this room? Do you think my character would know that there's matches in this bar or not? Just have the player ask the
What do you need a match
NPC.
for? You just start rubbing the sticks together and make your own fire, buddy.
Yeah, he's like, anyone have a match? I'm like, yeah. And then one player says, yeah, I got a match. They just make it up. Yeah, I got a match.
Yeah.
I only have one. Yeah. What do you need it for? It's mine.
It's mine. What do you got to trade?
And then he doesn't need a match to get out of the danger room or the escape room or whatever it's called. They need fire of some sort. And like one guy could do the thing from Fifth Element. Oh, I just quit smoking. If I knew I was going to quit smoking, I would have matches if I didn't know I was going to, that kind of thing. You just role play that.
Yeah.
Don't ask the referee questions. Ask each other questions.
You say what you're gonna do. If you do too many things, the jam will be you doing this thing first, and then you're slowly creeping. Yeah. You can't crawl. You can't crawl to the guy, pull out your lanyard, then yoke him up in one turn. You start with the crawl.
I'm crawling towards him. I'm being stealthy. That's it. That's your turn. That's
exactly.
Someone else gets to say what they're
doing. Your action is in motion, but at any time, what if the guy turns around and sees you? You're no longer yoking him up. He sees you. He's gonna shoot you. I'm gonna keep crawling.
Yeah, I'm gonna crawl up to the guy. I'm gonna grab him by the neck. I'm gonna stab him in the spine. I'm gonna flip toss him. Take his car keys. Run out the door. Get to his car. Start it up. Drive away.
Cool.
Shoot at anyone who's shooting. Oh, and while I'm doing that, I'm shooting at anyone who's coming near me.
You can do all the things. Do them all. What is your character doing?
That's worse than saying, can my character sneak behind him? Because I'm thinking on my next turn, I'm going to stab him. Is that possible? Do I have a knife?
Brutal GM will be like, you could have, but instead of doing it, you thought about it, and now he's turned around and shooting at you.
Exactly.
There you go.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done. If a player hesitates and they don't say anything, well, their character's just not doing anything. So next, who's doing something?
Easy peasy. That's how you GM.
Obviously, he's peeing on himself in the corner. Next, that kind of
trying to put out the fire. He's trying to put out the fire.
The fire, in case there is a fire.
I'm rolling the pee to put out the fire. What do I need for that now?
I have a pee skill. I have a pea shooting skill.
I drank a lot of beer today. I think I
all that coffee. Yeah, I do have to do a lot. Like I do a prep where I have some notes. I have an idea, which is generally more of the atmospheric kind of. The players aren't exactly interacting with them, but it's going to be government organizations, what their motivations are. Maybe they're going to Space Casino, and that's where I'm going to concentrate on. So the Space Casino has, mafia in there. They might have a corrupt head guy of the casino itself. There might be a situation where the players are, maybe they're there to do the heist. Maybe they're just there as regular people. They're on a wedding. They're in a wedding party together, and one of their NPCs, the NPC is the guy who's getting married. So the rest of the guys are like the groomsmen of the party or whatever. And then it goes from there. There's maybe a klaxons going on, and you've got, guys coming in trying to do a bust in, run, grab as much cash from the casino as possible and head on out. There might be a situation that erupts from there, and see what those players do.
Yeah. Where does the casino take place?
It's space. Start with that. Space casino.
Okay,
space hotel.
That's what makes it sci-fi.
There you
it's
go.
In space.
That's what makes it sci-fi. That's where you start. You start with them being robbed, you set the tone real quick. Danger.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what Sean Cherry was saying, yeah, in media, and that's exactly what you want to do is have that kickoff situation occur, bond the characters together with that situation, and then it goes from there on. It's something
Question:
that
Are you the thieves and you steal something you shouldn't have, or you are with the groomsmen and the wife or whatever? Like, who are you in this NPC?
yeah, you're a, well, as a game
No, like,
master, yeah, you're
I'm
like
saying, where would you put your players? Would you make them the thieves, or would you make them witnessing the thieves?
it
You
could
don't
it
know.
could be either way. It could be either way. It depends on the group, and
Yeah.
it's
I would have some players with the groom, some players are the thieves, and
Okay.
that's how all the characters first meet up.
oh, that's
in
when
the-
you
Yeah.
put in like the main head honcho of those thieves is like a real salty bastard, one that kills whenever he finds opportunity. And of course, the guys that are the players in that group are like, can we get away from this? Can we grab what we can and leave this guy behind or take him out as well? And then there's less to split
Oh.
amongst each other.
Then you got security forces to deal with on the casino.
That too. So you
Ah.
got
Well,
lots
well,
of things that you can throw in there. Then throw in a zombie apocalypse if anything else goes.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
There you
Now
go.
there's
the
zombies on
bride-
this ship.
the bride
This
the
is getting
bride
crazy.
could be in on the whole thing. She's hired these thugs to rob the place.
Oh,
Oh, maybe the bride set up the husband to be the fall guy. She's
There
not
you
even
go.
married.
Yeah.
Guy. Totally fake. Totally false.
Yeah, so the guys with the groom are pissed off with the bride. The guys robbing the place are hoping to pull it off because the bride's going to pay them big bucks for doing this thing. Something goes wrong.
Zombies.
The bride ends up being the big bad for the rest of the session.
Is there
The
dress,
husband,
like a
the
secret-
future, the groom guy, he's a pussy. He gets killed. He dies instantly.
He's disposable.
And just like we are brainstorming, like Chandra's coming up with ideas. Your players are going to be doing the same thing to each other, and they're going to be going,
Yeah.
and that's where you're collecting up all these little cool ideas to interject in later. But bring it in.
And in the social contract, you agree, is there player versus player in this game or not? Because depending on
it's
how
a real game,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
if it's it's going to be brutal. It's going to be like the Ugly Eight or whatever that movie was called, where everyone hates each other. What was that movie called?
Hateful Eight.
Tarantino.
Hateful Eight, yeah.
Eight.
Hateful Eight. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no one trusts each other, kind of a thing.
Yeah, if your characters can survive, always PvP. Go, hey, I want that loot for my next character.
Because when you run out of NPCs, and it's like the players have to start looking at each other. Fresh meat.
Yeah, I've been guilty as a player to kill off another player a few times.
But so far, other than the space part, that whole scene isn't really sci-fi. It could be just contemporary. Let's say you were role playing that game session. Let's say you're.
I'll be your player, Shauna. Go.
This great idea of yours. We were all role playing this in the 80s, right?
Okay.
So we're thinking, okay, this is just a regular old thing happening in space. Okay, it's plausible. Maybe we're on a space station, and then you say something about hand, palm, mobile device, flat surface computer thing in your palm of your hand.
Right.
You mentioned that in the 80s. People are like, holy crap, we're playing a sci-fi game now. All because you got eye touch in the game or something.
Yeah.
And that's not for another 20-something years. So that's what I do. I just have the mundane stuff going on. But I'll mention that, the cars float. Or everyone's got freaking androids in their front yard.
Holograms pops up out of their wristwatch, Boop.
Yeah.
That's sci-fi.
Or they have instantaneous communication between here and Uranus, stuff like that. Instead of a 3-hour turnaround time.
Easy peasy.
So you can talk to your ex-wife who you wish was dead from Uranus, and
Definitely
she's
will not
having
be
a
going
good
to
old
that.
time.
She's busy
on-
robbing the
on-
casino.
And pretending to
bitch.
marry some other guy. Yeah.
Yeah, taking all his money now.
And then you get in your rocket ship and you just haul ass towards Earth as fast as you can, and you get there in like 5 minutes, and you're like, damn, this traffic's tying me up. Normally it would take a few weeks to get back to Earth in a sci-fi movie, but in super sci-fi it's like almost instantaneous. What was that stupid movie called? That's my favorite movie, Fifth Element.
Right.
It's a good movie.
Remember,
I like
remember the what are they called? Those
that. Ooh.
the
I know the
Mongol.
leader's name
Mangoliers?
was Ugnaught. I know that.
Yeah, they shoot down
Mangalore.
they shoot down that
Turtle?
spaceship that has the fifth element in it. The people that are made of fire and they live in these little kiln suits.
Yeah.
I wish they would have shown her wearing her outfit when she was sitting in the seat next to those guys holding the chest with the stones. But they never showed her outfit. The only time you see her freaking outfit is when they find her gauntlet
Yeah. Yeah.
and her hand is still in the gauntlet. I want to know what the rest of that gauntlet looked like that she was wearing. It was like an Iron Man suit she had on.
They're like weird turtle people or something. I thought I don't remember. They look like turtles, right? Like talking about the metal.
Yeah,
people?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like in a steam oven kind of a thing.
A steam oven thing.
Super hot steam coming off their bodies. Hot to the touch. They're fire people, so they're kept.
What was the guy's
suits,
name?
so they
The guy with the plastic on his face.
Zorg.
Zorg. Yes. Negative. I am a meat popsicle.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah, there was so much bad editing in that film. You have to see it a few times.
Well,
Like,
Bruce Willis tries
how
to-
did the cops go to the other room instead of his room? And
they switched.
you don't know.
they switched
Lilu took his thing off his door and put it on someone else's door, but you don't see her doing that. Stuff like that.
That's
Right.
true. That's true.
So they thought they were kidnapping Corbin.
The more
Okay, so that
modern
scene
movie is,
there-
the worse it is.
when does the sci-fi show up in Fifth Element? Like you're watching it, and it starts out in Egypt in like 1914. It's like, man, this movie's boring. Oh,
Yeah.
these weird turtle guys show up. They're after the
Exactly.
stones.
Well, that's when the sci-fi starts. When a big spaceship lands.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's a big
Yeah.
spaceship.
Yeah, they land and then like, there you go.
Like, whose spaceship is that?
Yeah,
And then,
it started off with a little bit of skullduggery going on in behind the scenes with the main priest guy, and yeah, it was,
He
it was
wants
really
to
weird.
poison Luke Perry or something.
Yeah,
And Luke Perry won't drink the stuff. And then Luke Perry gets drunk and he starts shooting randomly for some reason. You're one of them. You killed the professor, but the professor just fainted. He didn't die or nothing. It was dumb.
Yeah,
But good. It was a good
It was a
movie.
good
But it
movie.
was dumb.
I feel like a lot of sci-fi has horror elements, which I don't know. I guess what
Alien?
can you really? Yeah, I guess it's one of the
My
easiest
favorite
things.
my
to put in
favorite
sci-fi.
horror film. People say Alien is a sci-fi movie though. But they don't explain how the ship works.
Goes forwards and
It's to the-
backwards.
yeah,
That's all it needs.
it's not
How-
not that important, is it? All the
It's not going to
Ship
last.
things,
The
yeah.
ship's not going to last. It doesn't matter.
It's gonna crash.
In my games, the
Propelled
ships are
by
not
imagination.
important. I don't do the traveler. Let's build a ship from the traveler rules. I don't do that. I just hand them a ship, or I let them talk about the ship, and I'm drawing while they're talking, and I have a little sketch of the ship. So in the next session, I'll have it in 3D, and I'll say, "Here's your ship, guys. This is a ship you guys were yammering about in the previous episode." But
think
even then, it's not going to last. The ship's not going to last.
I think it would be cool to have like a half broken ship and you're trying to repair it in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can find that in all kinds of ways. They won it, they stole it,
Yeah.
they found it, a derelict ship, salvaged ship,
Hey, maybe crash on a planet. That's our ship now. Let's go fix it up.
Yeah. It crashed in their backyard.
Whoa.
They found it
Yeah.
in a museum, and they've been secretly trying to fix it and make it go.
I like that.
Like the guy in The Thing. Every night he sneaks out of his little hut and he goes in the garage and he's building a little personal spaceship of his.
Right.
I forget how they killed him or what happened to him, but he's like, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. You can let me out of here. I don't remember what happened to him though. He was the guy that was he the guy that he was the diabetes guy in the TV commercials?
Diabetes.
Yeah. But he had a cereal, Quaker Oats or something he sold on.
Did he?
William
That guy should not be known sugar.
Brimley.
Yeah.
I was like, I got diabetes, but guess what? So you should have it too. Here's some cereal. Here's some sugar packets. Eat them.
No, it was two separate commercials, I think. I can't remember.
It's like Buddha.
Another guy from the Waltons, he was doing what? Grape nuts. Ever eat a pine cone? You're eating grape nuts. It's like break your teeth on these grape nuts.
Your mouth's all grated up. Oh, it's so good. It hurts. It hurts so good.
Why was it called grape? Was it called grape nuts?
Grape nuts. They were little. They were little bites, little bite-sized thingies, and yeah, they were small. But they were easier to consume than some of those. They had those ones that were like they were like an O shape, like a big zero shape, but they was just big brand thing, and it was just like horrid to try.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah. Mini wheats and the frosted O's or something, or wheat O's.
We've come a long way now in our science fiction future.
Yeah, we're back to cereal.
Just
what kind of cereal would it be in the sci-fi setting?
Just drink your Tang and eat your space sticks.
Slab. You get green slab.
Get some
Tang. It comes out in a cube. It's like it's got little
everything you need.
Everything
like
you need.
Matrix?
It's green. You slice it in half. It's in rainbow colors and layers.
In 2001, they're eating
Give me
like
the protein
MRIs
pill.
or something, or MREs or whatever they're called.
It's like Fifth Element. You stick it in the microwave, you zap it, and you get a whole turkey.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Lulu's like, or Lilu or whatever her name is. She'd be smiling. She'd pull out a whole turkey thing. She hadn't eaten in like 3,000 years or something.
There's a lot of stuff you can grab from all those science fiction movies and stuff. So
yeah,
that's the thing is you gotta educate yourself, educate.
Do you remember watching a movie and not knowing it was sci-fi until there was like a reveal of some kind during the movie?
Element or
no, just any movie. Do you remember watching any movie in your?
If it doesn't start in space, I don't know that it's sci-fi. I mean,
Predator was kind of like that. It started off not sci-fi until
I don't know. I guess it's technically sci-fi, right? But it's more action adventure.
I mean, it had a spaceship.
Did it?
Yeah.
But it blew himself up at the end.
And a space alien.
Batteries.
I don't know. You gotta define sci-fi. Is that the one with the robot?
Yeah, little toy robots that I forget what they did.
What is the definition of sci-fi? Is the real, I guess, the crux there?
Fantasy. My definition of sci-fi is fantasy.
I think
because everything's fantasy.
Yeah.
Technically, I guess yes.
Yeah. Sci-fi means speculative fiction about tomorrow that might happen.
No, it's like when you say sci-fi fantasy, I think Star Wars, and you think sci-fi, I think Star Trek. And I'm more of a Sci
fantasy. Sci fantasy would be Star Wars, where you got the magic.
Yeah.
And it happened a long time ago in another galaxy where there's humans evolved just like here. And everything's old, everything's used, because in fantasy, everything's post-apocalyptic. So all their ships and all their cities are just worn down. Nothing new gets built in Star Wars, apparently. No
Nope.
one washes their robots. Then there's Star Trek, which is like a utopian thing. Everything's perfect. There's nobody starving. Everyone has a
That's
job,
boring.
or nobody has a job. Everyone's on welfare. Money isn't used anymore.
There's no struggles,
Or
though. It's like, what am I
you
watching?
you join the Space Marines, so you get paid, so you have a job. So people want to be in the Federation, be on the Enterprise, be a scientist. They can have a job and get paid for it, even though they don't use money. No one needs a job. It's very confusing. It's very
It's very
contradictory.
confusing. It is
Yeah.
very confusing. Now that you've said all that, now I hate Star Trek even more.
Star Trek, just watch Star Trek from the 60s. Ignore all the crap that came
Yeah,
after
when
it.
they would encounter like Olympian gods and stuff like that. That's like the very first ones, right?
Dun 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 dun. Yeah. There's
I remember those.
apparently the Greek gods left Earth and went elsewhere
They're like,
because humans outgrew the Greek gods. So the Greeks
Yeah.
left. They went somewhere else. And then the Enterprise happens to find Apollo, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have them worship me like in the old days." But humans have evolved even further, and they're like, "What? You're not really a Greek god, are you?" And he's like, "Yeah. I'll prove it. I'll crush your ship in half with my brain." Stuff like that.
that's cool. So what is Traveler like? Yeah, I don't know nothing about it. Total newbie.
He's a noob.
You want to explain it? Rick?
It's where you can die in character generation. Yeah, I'm just
Fuck
saying.
you.
I just
It already
said.
sounds cool. It already sounds cool.
Isn't that the game where
sorry.
you die during
Yeah.
character generation?
Yeah.
I hate when people
I
introduce.
wanna-
I hate when people introduce the game like that.
I know.
You have like
Actually
a
sounds cool,
1%
though.
chance
How
of
do you die?
1%
How do you
chance
die?
of dying.
How do you die in character creation?
You can't in the new one. It doesn't.
Aw.
Yeah, it maims you. It wounds you. It takes away your legs and arms and other things, but it won't exactly kill you. So
Yeah, in the original game from the 70s, basically you would take a job for like 4 years, and during your 4 years you get wounded, and your wounds go directly to your hit points, and you die sometimes.
Jeez.
Says,
So
you
you just roll
you're
that
j-
at the beginning to a character
yeah.
creation?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, character
Okay.
creation is your basic intro to Traveler. So it's just a process where you start off as 18 years old, roughly. And you can choose to have a vocation before that, kind of like you're like going into college to get some knowledge, and then you start your terms. And your terms are 4 years each, and then depending on what you pick, you can pick like Navy, Army, Marines.
It's
It's Scouts.
barbarian.
Yeah, all kinds of different
welfare. You could die as a welfare recipient, probably.
You could you can even go to prison during one of these terms, and then you just end up being a prisoner for a while until you get out. So, there's all kinds of things that you can get into
Yeah.
or cross into during each 4-year term. So you don't always have
Alright,
to
so-
stay in Scouts. You can do a
Maybe
term in Scouts.
if one day you got free time, roll up a character or something if you want. I mean, that might be interesting.
Yeah.
So in
You know, I could get down with that.
in Traveler, you can I guess basically you roll up a character. Now I forgot what I was going to say because I'm listening to like we probably do it right here, sort of in our heads. When players didn't have the rules, I would just have them make a character on the spot.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I
Oh,
just have my
sure.
hands and some dice. My leg was cut off
the-
during that war. There you go. That's my
Oh,
flaw.
I remember now. Yeah, I remember. In Traveler, basically, your character has retired from their career. Like they're old enough to have retired,
okay,
and now
okay.
they're out and about, bored out of their minds, looking for adventure. And they're going to use the skills that they learned from their career.
Okay,
That's
Exactly.
cool.
Traveler. In
Is
a
it
nutshell, that's
mostly
Traveler.
is it mostly humans then? It's like it's a human centric thing, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually, yes.
All right.
So
Yeah, there's
yeah,
like four kinds of humans, and there's like a few uplifted animal type things
All right.
that are hard
And I
as hell to
know
roll.
Rick was telling me
Most
about
people,
the huge hexes and stuff like that. You can explore like galaxies or planets or. So I don't know.
that
yeah,
is part of it. Yes.
one hex, yeah, one hex in space is a star system.
Okay.
And the awesome thing about Travelers, you don't have to, like, you can read through the rules and absorb what you want from it, but you don't have to stay within the constraints of those rules. You
Yeah.
don't have to have hexes. You can just have, I mean, you can, plot out like on a piece of paper different areas there's different star systems. Write down the distance between each star, and boom, you've got like three star systems, and then you go from there.
So
Or yeah,
are the star systems like you buy a book and there's a bunch of planets made, or you make up the planet yourself and everything like that?
you can do that. You can make it up. You can go to the traveler map and pick a spot.
Yeah. Well, I'm like when you play, are like planets already like habitated and everything,
Uh,
civilized? You go
it
there.
in the current game that my group is playing in, yeah, they are playing in the Glimmer Drift Reaches, which is roughly a spot where the Imperium is kind of stopped uh going into, and it's all basically a bunch of pirate pocket empires, that have,
That's cool.
yeah,
So
died. And
there's already some good lore there. They said the Imperium, so I'm assuming like Empire type stuff. And
there's tons of stuff
Oh,
that you can work on.
there's 11,000 worlds you can pick from that are already
jeez.
made, or
Well,
you
there
can
you
make your own.
go.
Yeah, yeah. I prefer to just use the map and then go in there and pick a planet, because it just cuts down on my prep time. It's
Yeah. Well,
already
that sounds
there,
cool.
makes it easy.
I like that. I mean, it sounds cool.
So yeah,
I'll use
basically, however many players you have, they all go through the routine of generating their character. Some will do like maybe just one term. Others will maybe do 4 terms. Others will maybe do 8 terms or whatever. But once
How
they're
many?
finished creating their characters, they can be old or they can be young. They all start in a situation.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
this
There's a
future, are older people like still like is an 80-year-old like a 40-year-old in Traveler, or is it still just like
yeah,
nowadays?
yeah. They have drugs to keep you young,
Yeah. I like to do
but
like a an old term guy, just like a peg leg or something, like
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
little bit of a
yeah,
crush.
yeah. And
yeah. As
it's
you
Like
get
that.
older, you can get cybernetic implants, or
Oh, okay.
as you
I
get
can't afford
older,
them.
you
I can't afford them. I spent all my money on
yeah,
you know,
yeah. A-
alien clubs.
as you get older, you gain more skills, but you get weak in your attributes because you're getting older. Or
Like
you
I'm
can,
already getting a
or
character idea.
or if you just want to be a 20-year-old, you're physically fit, but you
I'm
don't have much experience
what's
with
the guy's
skills.
name from Blade? Wesker. He's got the leg with the crutch on there. He's helping Blade.
I don't remember.
You don't remember Blade? Oh
yeah,
I
man,
saw
yeah,
that
good
yeah.
movie.
You
I
remember
saw
it.
that
Yeah,
movie. I saw
yeah.
that movie
That's
on
who I want to be.
VHS.
That's the guy who's gonna have the hair. The vest, the bum leg. I'm trying to run. I'm not running, dude.
Yeah, it's
Can't
it's not
happen.
it's not hard to make any character you want. You can build them. I mean, there's rules in there to build it, kind of like, piece it together kind of idea. So you got a character that you want, or you can totally randomize it, which a lot of people do.
Yeah,
So it's
I said that would be cool. Like one day you get some free time, if you want, we can do that.
for sure we can do
Yeah,
that. That's
cool.
Yeah, I prefer random.
Yeah.
But if I'm teaching someone how to play, I'll just hand them a pre-gen. And then they'll play the
Uh,
game and they're like, "Oh, that was cool," but they want to make a character of their own for the next time because now
is
they
it
know
a
more about how
complex
the game
rules, or
works.
is it like more rules like Traveler?
Medium crunch.
Okay.
I
I
yeah.
say
play Palladium,
medium
so
crunch.
I don't know. I judge it by that, basically.
Okay. So yeah, it's kind of like the
Less crunch.
OCC kind of thing. Like every time you can imagine an OCC, each kind of thing is like a 4-year term in Traveler. So you're kind of like compiling all these OCCs, which are terms. So that's kind of
Okay.
what you have to relate it to, and yeah, but as each turn, as you're rolling each term, there's a chance of something bad happening or good. Something could give you a contact or an enemy, or it gives you a little general background on what happened. You
Yeah.
were double crossed or something, or you were, or it gives you a situation where if you roll really well, you'll get this. If you roll really low, this will happen, and so
Okay.
each term has one of those as well. So
As since you'd be like the GM, if I was double crossed in my turn, would you put that character in the game somewhere
oh,
possibly?
definitely,
I
yeah.
would try to.
Gotta use it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Especially
cool.
when you're episodic, you definitely want to use those kinds of things.
I like that.
If it's like a one shot, then it could be
Yeah, I get
included.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. Grand campaign's always different than a one shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if a character hated Mars, guess what? Their character is going to head back to Mars unexpectedly.
I'm gonna open the airlock and just
They come out of their hibernation. They leave the ship. They're boarding the whatever the starport, and they're like, "This reminds me of Mars." And they look out the window. Fuck, I'm on Mars.
it is Mars.
I'm not supposed. God damn it! You find out the ship you were on was stolen. The police are going through looking for the guys that hijacked the ship, and they're letting the passengers out temporarily until help comes. But there's gonna be no help.
Yeah. Hey,
The ship blows up after everyone leaves, and they're in the starport. Now what are we gonna do now? Because now the starport's damaged, nothing can land there. The passengers are stranded on Mars.
and Traveler lends itself really well to like a game master with a solo player. Really well, more than any other game that I've actually game mastered ever. It was except for maybe Space 1889 would be a good one for a solo player as well. But you don't have to worry about this kind of balancing stuff or anything if you're into the mechanics of the whole thing. You don't have to worry about that. Usually lethality's kind of the thing in this game.
Yeah,
People are going to die, if bad things
Yeah.
happen.
makes sense.
Yeah, if you get shot, and you're not wearing any armor, it's
Pretty much done.
Yeah.
it's fairly easy to kill somebody.
It's like real life.
Yep. Gotta be a good role player, man. Can't rely on the dice.
No, Traveler's not about gun combat. That would be a different game you were playing. Probably Shadowrun or Cyberpunk. if
You know
you're
something
doing a lot
about
of gun
Shadowrun?
combat.
They should have just kept the old technology the way it was. I don't know why they upgraded. Then they upgraded to like Wi-Fi and all this different stuff. They should have just kept it back to when it was. Why did they do that?
I don't know. I don't
I
remember
don't know.
what it was.
It was
I
just
remember
like
in the rules it said something like it's the year 2070 and Wi-Fi has been invented. Like what?
they should have just kept a closed network. Like, think about it. If you're a corporation, you keep your network closed because you're trying to guard all your secrets. It's Shadowrun, right? Like, you wouldn't be on Wi-Fi. You'd have to hook up to the bank. You have to go to the ATM machine and stick your little hack card in there, and then your mind. Blah, 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 blah.
I don't know who was the audience for that game. I can't remember
I
now.
don't know. The Sega game was awesome, though. The Shadowrun Sega game, awesome.
There was another game called Syndicate for the Amiga computer. It had a sort of a cyberpunk Blade Runner vibe to it. Mega corporations, guys in trench coats, lots of rain, walking around.
I remember the
doing
Sega
private eye
game.
stuff.
You could get body implants for your work and just like beat people until you got all the secrets that you needed. It was cool. It was a good game.
You can tell what kind of player he's going to be. No.
all I know about Shadowrun 6th edition is that the rules are super crunchy.
Yeah.
And the card chase rules go on for pages.
I remember seeing a live play once, and they had like 30 dice, and I was like, I don't. That's not for me. I don't think I can't. It's too many dice.
Oh yeah, dice pools.
You
Yeah.
just like your whole bag and you dump it out. Give me 5 minutes to count my dice.
That's all you
That's
need
all
for
you need for
Traveler.
Traveler?
I
Just
think
two dice?
I think you're counting how many sixes you roll or how many fives you rolled or something like that. I can't remember.
My attention
Yeah.
span's like this big. I'm already can't count that eye.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about Traveler is it's very easy. The mechanics are super easy. And yeah, I mean you could put in there is rules for like hit locations if you wanted. There's rules for sanity, all that kind of stuff too if you really wanted to, or a fear, like morale, that kind of thing. There's lots of options in the game that you can really cater to the kind of theme that you're trying to get across with the rest of
Cool.
the gamers. Yeah. So,
How late you guys would be going tonight? You gonna be going for a couple hours or
oh, for tonight.
Yeah, I have girlfriend duty in like 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Girlfriend duty.
So I didn't know if you guys would be streaming all night.
Yeah, feel to pop in or out. That's
Cool.
okay. Yeah, me and Sean
Well,
can
thanks-
keep on yakking.
for
And
having me.
yeah. And if you do come up with any more questions as you're reading
Yeah.
through all the PDFs and everything, just
Yeah, I'll give it a read
up.
if you want to do a game or something. Like I said, I'll read the book and make
Yeah.
a character on stream or something like that.
for sure.
All
I'm
right.
into doing one-shot solo kind of things. They're cool.
We can do that. That's cool. All right, Shawner, it's cool meeting you. Rick, see you next
Rick.
time. Everybody else, have a
Thanks
good
for
night.
coming in.
His girlfriend duty.
Girlfriend
Lucky.
duty. Yeah, I had wife duty last night. But I don't want to talk about that.
But as far as for me, sci-fi is fantasy. So when I'm doing a sandbox, I guess before we start the sandbox, we discuss about the theme and the tone. Is it going to be more uppity, or is it going to be Debbie Downer? Is this going to be horror, body mutilation stuff, or is this going to be everything's coming up roses, everything's hunky dory, everything's fine?
Do you find that
unlimited lifespan?
Do you find that your players have a preference to a certain style of play as you get to know?
We just we change depending on we've already done too many of this kind of stuff. Let's try one of these. Or one of us usually reads a book or sees a movie, and it triggers some ideas like, hey, I saw this movie, like, of course I haven't seen what they're talking about, so that's when I'll be the player instead of the GM. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I got this idea, and they'll be like, okay, and then we got to figure out what kind of players to make, and I'll decide, or we'll decide if it's just going to be random characters or if we're going to all be like Space Marines. Yeah. Or we're all going to be scientists.
I said
do like a fire starter kind of a thing.
I sent the link to Sean Cherry out there, so it's on your Discord just in case you wanted
Sean
to pop
Cherry.
I always enjoy having good old Sean Cherry come in.
Because he's the voice of reason.
Is he?
He is.
Yeah, I guess.
He's not outlandish.
So yeah,
he is the anchor.
Yeah. I tend to put in a lot more prep. Like I know you kind of do the one shot thing, but for what I do, I have to do just a bit more prep in order to kind of keep things in line from episode to episode. And and like I said, the nice thing about it gives me fodder for later on.
Yeah, my prep is like a kind of a curve, like a tangent or a cosine or something. Like at the beginning of a one shot, there's nothing. I have nothing prepped, so everything's being made up on the fly for like the first 10 minutes of the game, and then it starts to teeter off a bit, and I'm not making up as much stuff for like the next 10 minutes. And then for the next 10 minutes, I'm making up even less stuff. And then for the next 10 minutes, I'm not making up anything. Because by then, the players have enough stuff they've come up with that we're just using that. We're just playing on that, and it's got some inertia or momentum going.
Right.
So I don't have to come up with something new every 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just they're role playing in their space now. And then eventually, I'll be thinking in the back of my mind, what's the goal here? What do the players have goals for their characters? Do they want something to happen during the game? Because we're not just going to be, in my mind, we're not going to California, traveling west, young man. We're not doing that to live the good life. We're going there to die. I'm gonna die. We're all gonna die. The Donner Party, but in space. Something like that.
Right.
They found the Oregon Trail, but it's a asteroid mine, something asteroid storm they have to navigate through, and at the other end is Shangri-La, the Fountain of Youth, something like that. These are all scientist players. They can't wait to get there.
So that's when you introduce the asteroids are emitting this horrifying amounts of radiation as they're going through, but in their minds they're going to utopia, right?
Yeah, like when the players all get into the shielded pods, but there's not enough shielded pods for all of them, so someone has to stay behind. Oh man, because they have to steer the ship or make sure that the AI computer is doing what it's programmed to do. They can't trust the AI computer for some reason, and then that person has aged a year while the other ones have been frozen. Something like that.
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. And that
he's been eating all the fake food for that year, and he's got cancer and everything because of the radiation. But maybe there's a cure for him if he drinks the Fountain of Youth stuff. Maybe it'll cure him. Stuff like that.
So yeah, sounds like a good solo kind of thing. And Traveler lends itself well to just like what we're doing now. We just brainstormed a bunch of ideas, and we didn't have anything written down about it or anything. It was just like, oh, let's throw together a few of our favorite movie tropes and twist them up a bit, and boom, Traveler game. And you don't have to have like stats written out, stat blocks and stuff like that. And the theater of the mind, it gives you the freedom to not be constrained with what you got to show them on the screen all the time or whatever. But it is nice to have a few cool pictures, which is.
Oh yeah, if I'm gonna do some prep, I'll at least have pictures to show during the game.
Yeah.
If I'm pretty certain they'll visit the places. Otherwise, I don't bother collecting up a bunch of photos to share. If they decide to do something different at the last minute, then all of a sudden this turned into a horror one shot instead of a planetary romance one shot.
Yeah.
Because imagine if Stuart lived in Planet of the Apes, the girl that died on the ship. Imagine if she lived when they crashed on future Earth. It could have been a different story.
You could introduce that in as a not very many people know that story, and it'd be a cool kind of Traveler episodic thing.
The apes. Yeah, the apes would have seen a blonde chick when they've only seen girls with brown hair, and she's got blonde hair, blue eyes.
Right. And how she would have made a difference in that kind of a situation too, Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what her field of study was. I guess they were all scientists, right?
Yeah.
Were they all space scientists? None of them were like geologists.
Yeah, you have to
go naturalists
back,
or evolutionists, or
you'd have to go to the book maybe and see if there was any hints.
Maybe because they never say why they're going into the future. Like what? Were they going to a planet? I can't remember. All I know is that they were testing a ship to see how fast, how faster than light they could travel. That's all I remember.
Right. Yeah.
And just doing that is a problem, because even if they didn't come back to Earth, even if they go somewhere else, I mean, Earth is gone. No matter what they do, Earth is gone. It's everyone they know is dead in the future. So it's like it's a one-way trip. They didn't have to land on Earth, but it was a twist. You have to have a twist ending when you're doing a Rod Serling story. So they end up back in New York City.
Yeah, damn, back here again. Damn
And then
them
in
all.
the next
No.
in the next movie, they ended up in New York City too. It's like, what are the chances? He followed them and landed in the same spot, basically around the same week as the other guy did on Earth. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
So I only
that's
watched
kind
the
of far
first
fetched.
movie.
Yeah, that is, but it led to the situation with everybody underground and the exploding of the world, and
That's when you
just
do.
so happens
That's when
that
you
Cornelius and or was it Galen? I can't remember it.
Zira.
Zira and
They go back to Hollywood.
yeah,
No,
so they go the
no.
other way.
I was
Crazy.
10 years old, and I'm like, no, this can't be happening. And then they did a TV series. They had a TV cartoon. No, stop it. Stop. End the madness. End it. But monkeys were popular back then, so
It was really good makeup. The makeup was pretty good for the time,
yeah.
and it really egged on like everybody, and like when we were growing up, you'd have those classes in high school where they started, giving you the latex and all these other materials, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, go at it, and we started making molds for, Dave, the guy who played in the original Traveler game with us. He did a monkey kind of the nose part and the mouth, and
Yeah.
it looked great. It was a
Yeah.
fantastic job. So he had that, but his friend there had his friend's dad was a dentist, so and he was able to help them make molds and stuff like that with dental materials. So it was
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool. Yeah. So yeah, you have to lend yourself to the theme of the times, I guess. When I mean, when we were growing up, we were just basing everything off the technology that were kind of being shown on the TV of what the future would hold, right? And it was totally wrong, of course, but now it's just cool that there's a lot of, if you think and speculate and really kind of open up your mind to some ideas out there, read some books and get some cool stuff to grab onto. Almost anything can be done in the future of sci-fi, from the nano technology that we can kind of perceive in the future. You can almost make anything that's, like wizardly come out of their fingers. You can blend science with magic kind of thing, almost that Numenera kind of aspect.
Yeah, that's why I like Flash Gordon. It's got some sci-fi to it. It's got some fantasy to it. Magic. But what is magic though in sci-fi? It's usually just a higher tech level that you don't understand.
Yeah, yeah.
So Ming the Merciless has the rings that do all the things, but I'm sure some science guy could probably explain how the rings worked. Even Ming could have explained how it worked, because he probably had slaves, scientists that he kept in his basement, forced him to make these rings and stuff for him to wear. Or he would kill the scientists if they couldn't do it right.
Right.
It needs to be this small. It needs to fit on this finger. It needs to be able to do this. Make it by tomorrow, or your whole family's dead.
It's too tight. Kill him. Yeah, right. What kind of
Well,
a
that's
leader
basic.
do you think I am? Only putting the ring
Yeah,
on my pinky.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's basically Iron Man in a cave being forced to make a weapon for the Vietnamese or for the Koreans or for the Japanese or for the Russian, whatever era timeline he was in. He gets captured. He was like a war contractor, and he gets captured, turned into a prisoner, has to make something for the baddies, but in secret he's making his Iron Man armor for some reason, because he thinks that will help him live, because he knows he's gonna die if this shrapnel gets any closer to his heart. And the rest is history.
Yep.
Captain Kirk and Spock, they've been prisoners in a cave being forced to do things, and then they eventually escape, go back to their Enterprise, everything's hunky-dory again. But
So
in episodic shows, usually the stuff you did in a previous episode never gets mentioned again.
and that's
Like the
kind of
cloaking device.
that's kind of a shame, because
The cool science doesn't get used again.
it's right. It's that floored me when me
The actors
with
don't really think about all that because they're filming stuff out of order and then showing it on TV out of order.
yeah
Depending on who the viewers want to see more on the show more often, they'll throw one of those episodes on instead of the one that they were planning to show beforehand. Like all of a sudden, people want to see Janice Rand. I don't blame them. I'd want to see her too, but she's only in like 4 episodes or something.
that's right. Yeah.
Because people back then, actors had revolving shows they were on. So people you would see in a Western would end up in a Star Trek episode, and then they'd end up in some weird other show that wasn't as famous as Star Trek, or they'd be on Batman, or they would be on Bewitched, or I Dream of Jeannie. It's like, revolving, like the green girl, one of the green girls from Star Trek. She was Batgirl on the TV show in the 60s.
Right.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And then they had Joan Collins in there
Yeah.
in one of the episodes and stuff. So yeah, a
Yep.
big revolving door of different people. Just a
And Spock, he was on Mission Impossible. The Doctor, he was in a Western.
yeah, that's
So
right.
it's like
That's right.
it just the show of the year. That's what you were contracted to do. You ever see The Prisoner
Yes, I used to watch that quite a bit. Yes.
with the giant white bubble thing? It would chase after the guy.
Yeah, when he's trying to swim away and then
Did you ever
envelop him.
think that was science fiction, or did you think that was?
I thought it was more
surreal?
it was just Twilight Zone-y kind of thing, Outer Limits, but it went on for a while, so which was cool, and you were always kind of guessing, okay, what is this place? And you want to know the answers as an observer
Yeah.
of the show,
Yeah.
which made it super interesting. And that thing that being that it's a key in a lot of role-playing games. You want players to come back too as well, you want them to go, especially if you're episodic. I know, yeah, you do the one shots, but that's something that I always try to put into my game, the want to know how this happened or how this works, or what is really going on here is some of the questions. You can get philosophical if you wanted to, about it.
I always wanted to know how he got there, and where is he at, and is he the only one there that's like him, or like is everyone there part of the act?
Yeah, because there was an episode where wasn't it a girl or something that wasn't part of the act, and she was trying to give him hints on what was going on or something there. It's been a
I
while
think
since
there
I've
was.
yeah, it's been a while since I've seen them, but I should start rewatching those again and
Yeah, usually
get
like
ideas.
there's an episode, I think it's called Big Ben or something, and the chimes of Big Ben. So he's being smuggled off the island back to England.
Right.
So he's got his watch synchronized for what he thinks is the time in the UK, so he can hear Big Ben chime the right chimes at the right minute on his watch that he sees. And I guess they're fooling him. He's not really being smuggled. He ends up being back in his room,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they're playing a recording of Big Ben's chimes, and he's looking at his watch and stuff. You're like,
Uh
God. It's like he had high hopes. He thought he was gonna get away with it. He thought he was gonna get away, and the girl was gonna help him or whatever. And they're all in on it.
yep.
Meet the new number. Meet the new number two. Or, where's number one? I am number two. Where's number one? You are number six. That just went on and on and on. And it's like, come on. It's like, but that was like what do they call those kind of shows? Experiment stories or something. I can't remember. I've tried to do role play sessions like that, but you have to have a lot of prep, and you have to have you as the GM, you have to know all the answers to the things that the players are going to be asking you about.
Yeah.
So if you would have to come up with all the stuff. So it has to make sense. So when they see all the clues, when they realize that they were shown all the clues all the time, they can go, "Oh, I see. I get it. I get okay." And it all
There
makes sense
yeah.
at the end.
There are certain things in my prep that I do that I do that kind of approach, but I don't like there's just certain things that I do that too. The rest of it is very speculative, and I do take in a lot of input from my players. If they're thinking something is happening in the background, they're doing their they're doing a bit of a role play with each other, and they're saying, "I think this is happening. I think these guys are against these guys," and I listen to that, and sometimes, like I say, they get some ideas there that I think, oh, that's pretty cool. That's it. Or they may have something that sounds like it would work, be spot on, because it wasn't like the main, big question of the entire uh episodics. It was just a little side thing. And I think
Yeah,
giving them a little nod, once in a while
yeah,
helps the players think, oh yeah, okay, we're on the right track, and okay, yeah, well, it boosts their confidence a little bit, which helps, and
yeah.
they
Side
keep,
things, side things are good.
yeah,
Then you maybe the side thing could be a two-parter, like when Picard turns into a Borg. I think that was a two-part episode.
yeah, yeah.
But it really, I don't know. Did it have anything to do with the rest of this show though?
It had
What?
it yeah, it had things that it gave Picard that kind of complex in his head, that that he was kind of fighting later on, because he was Borg, but he's not.
Yeah,
But he still has the memories and some of the ideology burnt into his brain cells, and he's like fighting kind of an internal battle, which, as far as you as the watcher of the whole show is going, is Picard really going to be a good guy in this situation, or is he going to fall prey to the Borg? You've got those conflicting kind of things going on in your
oh, I
head,
see.
which makes it interesting to watch, right?
Yeah,
Because
that makes
later on,
sense.
when they do show up, the Borg invades, and Picard's like, I'm the only one who can stop this thing, and he ends up he ends up of course, prevailing in the end. But along those lines, you're always like, oh, is the Borg going to retake him over? You don't know. And yeah, it makes it enjoyable for people watching. And of course, if
Yeah.
if this is in the game, it makes that much more enjoyable too, because they're always
Yeah.
guessing.
In the movie Total Recall, is there a point in the movie where 'cause I only saw that movie once in the theater?
Right.
I'm guessing there's a point where the audience is like, "Oh wow, he's like really a secret agent. He's not whatever he was pretending to be earlier."
Right.
Because he
And
goes somewhere, right? And he sits in a chair.
he ends up getting this guy pops in that is he's somehow involved. He's one of the guys that does the recall videos, and they brought him in to say that he is he was actually this guy. He's just actually Quaid back in at on planet Earth. He's not he's going through the his fantasy. He's not really here. He's just being inserted into the program to tell him, hey, you're going way off base here, Quaid. Come back, kind of thing. And then he's got the sweat going down. That's where he Arnold goes ahead and blasts the guy. Gets rid of him. I can't remember if he shoots him or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. But there's a point where it's like it's one kind of a movie and then it turns into another kind of movie.
Yeah. It
then
was
you find
cool.
out
It had a
that-
lot of twists in it, that movie.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. And then there's like Silent Running. You ever see Silent Running?
Yes.
Okay, like that one starts out with the astronauts in space, they're doing the forest thing. And then for whatever reason they get that radio call from Earth saying to
Terminate the project.
yeah, like what do they say? Launch the pods and nuclear detonate them. Like, why would you blow them up?
It
I guess they thought
doesn't
it's-
make any sense, but I guess that's a plot point.
Maybe it's not safe having these domes floating around in space. A ship might crash into them or something. And then the movie turns into this whole I have to kill everyone on board my ship and save the trees or something like that.
Right.
Like, what
Yep.
is this movie? And the robots, they are what would their alignment be? Some sort of neutral neutral good, or
Absolute
know,
neutral.
they just follow the rule. They just follow instructions. I need you to make a grave. I need you to bury him. The robot's like just doing it, doesn't care.
Yeah, well, he was programming them to do certain things. He had them playing cards and stuff like that against each other and all kinds of different things.
Well, that's the other thing. The movie turns into this. Oh, he's gonna have fun for the rest of the, on the ship, eating food and having robots to play with. No, that didn't last long because the ships catch up with him. They want to dock up to him, and he's like, "Oh no, we have to get out of here," because they thought he wouldn't survive going through Saturn's rings, but he did.
Yeah.
And they even bothered to look for him. Because I guess that movie, the way that movie takes place is all they have to go by is maybe like a beacon of some sort to track where the ships are. Because, you're just you're smaller than a needle in a haystack if another ship is trying to find you. And you're
Absolutely.
like millions of miles away. And the sun, they'd have to use telescopes to look for you to see if there's any sun reflecting off the side of your ship or not. Or if you're blocked by a planet, no one's ever going to see you.
Yeah.
It's not like Star Trek where they just say, what does sensors reading show? And oh, there's a ship right over here. Let's go.
It's on
We'll dock to it in like 1 minute.
It's on the view screen, Jim. It's there. Open your eyes.
Yeah. But I like in Alien, they got the mother saying, "Hey, there's a system. It's got a beacon distress thing," and they're hammering away on the computer just trying to find where they are. They don't
Right.
even know where they are before they go looking for this beacon thing. It's like, where are we?
That's
And
yeah,
they have
and
no idea.
that's important to throw into your role playing games is have no exposition on the current situation and let the players figure that out themselves. So they'll be
Yeah,
tapping on the computers, asking Mother, the
yeah,
questions in character, and Mother would be replying back to him. And either you could use the voice as Mother, or you can do the ticka 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 thing if
yeah.
you wanted to, whatever you wanted. But that's the discovery, the slow discovery of what's going on here. It's intriguing for people to puzzle that out, and that's the neat thing about role playing games, that a lot of game masters just totally, like Pierre, throws out the window and ends up just regurgitating
Spilled beans.
everything you need to know about this certain sector of the galaxy. And there's these
Yeah,
the crash ship that's on there, and then there's the
yeah,
little aliens in there, of course. And if you enter there, things will happen. And if what are you gonna do? I guess we're not landing on the planet, right?
yeah. If you go to the planet, then you have to wear your EVA suits and take precautions because there's electrical storms and you can only see 3 feet in front of you if you decide to land on this planet. And make sure that you land in a safe spot, safe zone, because the beacon otherwise is blocked by hills and you won't know where the beacon is if you land in the wrong side of the planet. Blah, blah, all this stuff. Say, just have the players do it, then they find out if they're
Exactly,
screwed or not.
exactly. It's just like me going to my front door. I'm in my nice warm house. I open up the door, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so cold. I can't even look." Because your eyelashes freeze on your face. You know, you have to experience it. It's right there at that moment. I don't. You can't just say, "Oh, well, that it's going to be cold outside and blah blah blah." Have that experience happen to the player. Have his eyelashes freeze, to his eyes, and he's like, "Oh, I can't open up my eyes." Close the door. Rub your eyes and warm them up again. You got to have those kind of moments, which is a cool thing in science fiction.
They okay, what? Okay, let's say you're gonna run a sci-fi game for somebody, and you're not going to do any info dump whatsoever. What's the bare minimum that you'll tell players they should know at first?
Their like the position of their body, be it and they wake up in a from a pod, or just a situational of their personal being in the game. That's all you need, and then let them
Okay.
discover everything from there. That's
Yeah,
basically
so
it.
the characters know their sex, their age, and their backstory, which
Mm.
is like a couple sentences of what
What
they were
they
doing the
Yeah,
last few years of their
and,
life.
and what they had for if you rolled it up a traveler, that's all they basically know. So yeah.
Because okay, let's say they wake up from hibernation, whatever emergency, wake up. How would you describe this ship? Do you just describe what they see in the immediate nearby room they're in, or do you tell them, "Oh, you're on such and such ship,"
Yeah,
and the players
for
are like,
sure.
"Oh, I know,
Yeah,
we're on a scout ship. I know the floor plan by heart."
yeah, I'll start it off with what they see. It could be just a big blur at first. Maybe their eyes have to readjust to everything, and everything looks just kind of like blotched out and
That's good.
and and sketchy. It's kind of like you have mucus, a layer on your
Yeah,
eye, that kind of a feel. And then
yeah,
they're like
they're
bumbling
disoriented or
around.
something,
They
or they
touch
don't
something. It's
remember.
yeah. It could
Like
be
when you wake up from a dream and you don't
exactly.
remember where you're at or who you are for like 2 seconds.
Maybe give them some hints of they'll look. Oh, I have a ID badge here on this thing. It says my name. Oh, okay. You know, or maybe
Yeah,
I've got the wrong one. Maybe it's this guy here in this
yeah,
container. You
yeah.
know.
Heaven forbid the player says, "Do we have name tags we can read?" I would just say I would just kick that player from the stream. You know. Next question. No, when a player just says, "I'm thumbing around, reaching around in my incubator for a name, a year, the time,"
Yeah.
I don't say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
And yeah.
I'll let the players be confused for a little bit, and eventually they'll catch on. I'll narrate something, and they'll go, oh, okay. And they there's a in their in the pocket of their pants on the floor or something like that. They go and reach in there, and they pull out their personal digital assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to tell anything. I learned this from same old G. Like don't tell, just show.
Exactly. I mean,
And
I've
don't show it unless it happens to happen. Like if it if someone narrates something.
I might be guilty once or twice there while in my sessions where I might blurt out a little too much, but you
Oh,
know,
I've been guilty. All the stuff I complained about on the internet, I've done all that stuff. And
that's why I do the G
I
and
wanted
G.
I wanted to unlearn all those bad habits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I do the GM diary afterwards. I actually didn't do one
Yeah.
this for my last session, but I just do that so I can kind of recall, hey, I could have improved on this or that, and get some input from the viewers, on what they thought, and it's a cool back and forth with everybody, on that kind of a thing in the comments, anyways.
Was the whole session combat pretty much?
The last traveler one.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what exactly happened there.
It seemed like there was a lot of combat.
Oh
So
yeah,
I kept
there was, yeah, there was a fair
I
bit.
was listening to it in the background while I was doing something else. And yeah, I just remember lots of combat. It
And
was like, this
yeah,
is weird.
Josh
I
was.
didn't know you were a combat guy.
I'm not. There's gonna be combat every once in a while. It's gonna happen, and I do try to keep it as free flowy as I possibly can. So there's there. I mean, I could have improved a couple of things in there.
It was ship combat that I remember.
Um, no,
There was
it was yeah. There
a
was
lot of
part ship. Yeah,
zooming ships zooming over other ships.
right.
Or
It
something
was
like that.
they were incoming kind of jury rigged missiles, and they had
Okay.
ECM packages on them, and which I explained when they seen the glob that was on their ship. It was kind of like somebody put some sort of like oily, sticky substance, and there's like this mechanism that's clung onto their ship, and it's dug its little tendrils into the skin of the ship, and it's like doing some sort of like kind of thing going on, and that's
Oh,
where
okay.
where Adamus burnt the thing off with his laser pistol. And then it was
Oh, okay.
they were being boarded by a bunch of these crazy cannibal raider guys, and they fought them off. Josh ended up getting fairly wounded. He was almost to the point of like where his one stat was almost depleted. But the combat was fairly quick with the NPCs. They're just basically a one or two shot kind of critters, basically, that.
You talking about the cannibals?
Yeah. So they weren't super tough. You shoot them once or twice, and they'd be going down. It depended on the role. If I see that like Josh rolled a really high number, yeah, boom, head goes off, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I do. I do minions or peons or what's the other word? Uh,
henchmen.
lackeys, henchmen. Yeah, the back when I would do GURPS, just massive Lord of the Ring type battles. No, we're not gonna roll for damage for every little fight
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
No,
for
we're
sure.
gonna
It's
just in general. You killed 5 guys just now. Now you got room, and 5 more guys come running towards you. Then it's just one or two hit points for each of these guys. You
yeah.
do 5 damage. That's like pretty much almost 5 guys are murdered,
There's
waving
probably
your thing around.
there's probably a few people out there watching this going, "Oh, you're not playing by the rules and stuff like that," But uh,
It's
you
cinematics. I want to
yeah.
do cinematics. How long did it take Luke Skywalker to fight Darth Vader? 5 minutes? 6 minutes? I don't want to see someone
I don't
playing.
even think it was that long.
Yeah, I don't want to see anyone playing on the stream on YouTube a Star Wars fight scene and it's going on for 3 hours. 3 hour lights, a 3 hour lightsaber fight. Come on, lightsabers cut through everything. The fight is over the minute it starts almost. Unless you do the stupid Obi-Wan Anakin thing that went on for a good 20 minutes. Just the chase scene in the lava pit with the factory and
Right.
their acrobatic skills are rating 10 and up. It's crazy. It was dumb. And the Energizer Yoda bunny rabbit just pew pew doing the backflips and the thing, and Christopher Lee being all nimble and agile, and oh my god.
Good effects. But
How,
yeah,
how come how come Alec Guinness is like he could barely do anything.
yeah,
I'm an old man.
that was
But
that
then
was funny.
Computer animated Christopher Lee could do the twirls and the somersaults and dual wielding. He's like General Grievous. Whoa. Come on, really? It was dumb.
But
That's why I just
yeah.
skip through those movies.
So to get those cinematic kind of things, you really have to kind of do a lot of shortcutting with keep the rules into the background. Keep the
Yeah.
flavor of the rules. A lot of times I'll just take the skill level of the character compared to the skill level of the aggressor or whatever it is. Who's going to win? The one who's going to have the better, and then play it out like that. Those are usually in situationals, not combat. Usually, one ship trying to outmaneuver the other ship or something like that. You don't have to necessarily roll. You have to just go against the agility of your ship and figure out the skill of the players, and it makes it an easy thing to figure out on the fly, and you make it fast.
I remember as a kid, The Matrix had come out, and everyone thought, "Oh, this is cool cinematic fight scenes," and I'm like, "No, this is just stretched out, prolonged fight scenes. It's not cinematic." Okay, now they're using guns and they're dodging bullets, which makes the combat take forever when anyone can just dodge bullets. And then that Agent Smith guy makes like 1,000 of him or something. Still, it's like, and then they did the same thing with the Avenger films. Get the CG army going, get all the superheroes going. Everyone's fighting. It's like, they're gonna make it through the combat. So what's the point of the combat? What is it? What is that for? It's boring after a while.
Yeah.
And then you got the back in the late 80s, early 90s, you had all the kung fu movies. The guys are running up the sides of buildings, hopping off rooftops, doing the twirls, fighting each other with sticks.
There is a thing
and they're
though, Sean. When you think about it, when you first seen the movie, it didn't bother you that much. Like it was a cool gimmick, and you watched it, you went through it. But when it
well, I like
came to
Seven
your
Samurai.
yeah, when you go through
Seven Samurai was quick and dirty.
yeah, yeah. But when you go through the second time of watching Matrix, then it kind of like, oh yeah, this scene, it's gonna take forever, you know.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But that's the way players see sometimes is they think, all these cool things are happening, and the time that consumes is seems to be okay with them sometimes with a lot of players out there. Others, once they get through a combat using the cinematic kind of thing, they'll be going, "Oh, why haven't we been doing this forever?" Sometimes it's a lot easier to have something fast paced going on, and you're like, oh my god, all this stuff happening. Within the same time that it just when you're doing the plodding along with the in the role playing games, moving up gradually through the corridors on a virtual tabletop, doing the things, doing the rolls, doing the spy maneuvers and all that stuff, whatever it is, acrobatics. Yeah, it
Oh, there
soaks
was
a lot of time.
what was the long ass fight scene when? Oh, let's see, what movie was that? Um, I want to say the RoboCop fight scenes were pretty quick and brutal. They didn't go on forever, but I can't remember now what the movie was. Maybe it was Dark Man. There's a fight scene. The guy's shooting a rivet gun on girders on a building. That seemed to have gone on for an awful long time. Anything with diesel in it seems to take forever. The fight scene just goes on and on. Like they're breaking each other's backs, their arms, twisting each other's necks back and forth. You hear crack and stuff. But then they just, oh, it was probably a Predator movie or one of those Arnold movies. What was the one where he says, "Let off some steam, Bennett"? Oh, Commando. Was that Commando?
Commando, yeah. Oh no.
The fight scenes just seem to go on
Yeah.
a bit longer. Just punch, punch, punch. The guy's knocked out, but then all of a sudden he gets up and he's like super punching the other guy back. He's like, all of a sudden he's like super healed up, and it's as if he never got kicked in the face ever in the film. And all of a sudden he's like super strong, going, ah. I hate those movies. That's why I like Fifth Element, because Corbin Dallas, he's ducked behind this wall and he's got a pistol. And he asked the guy, how many of them do you see? And it's like, there's like 5 of them. And he goes, and he's, how many see now? Something like that. It was like, he just shoots them all in the head. And it's like, that's how you do a fight scene. He's shooting the Mangalores or whatever they're called.
So what was his character's background besides being a taxi driver? Like,
Oh, he was a space marine.
he was a space marine, right?
Yeah. He was basically Roy Batty from Blade Runner, but he was a human instead of a
Yeah,
replicant.
but softer.
Yeah, he's more gushy. He's retired, trying to make a living on his pension, and a taxi driver in New York City in the future probably costs an arm and a leg just to do that.
Yeah.
And he lived in the studio with all the furniture would just pop out of walls and things when he needed them.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was interesting. Basically, you're living in a self-storage unit, it looked
Yeah.
like.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
And I remember the sea level had dropped like 300 feet. So the New York harbor was gone. It was just it was Manhattan surrounded by a Grand Canyon kind of a thing. It just a dried out Grand Canyon. It was the weirdest New York I've ever seen, but it looked cool.
Yeah, they had some interesting things in that show that you have to rewatch all the time in order to catch all the little Easter eggy kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. In the movie, you only have 1.5 seconds to see New York City, so that's you have to pause it just right, and you see the Statue of Liberty is, instead of it being out on the water, it's out there on one of those. It's like a mound of dirt sticking up from the ocean, from the harbor, and it goes. It's just like what it is now. It's just an island, and if you can imagine the Hudson River and all that stuff empty, that's what it looks like. It's kind of cool. It'd be like, what would the Niagara Falls look like if there was no water pouring from it?
Yeah, it'd be
If that
pretty
would ever happen,
crazy. It would be crazy. Because you
or the
know, when you think
Amazon
of
River
all the
dried
you
up.
know, yeah, because all that mist and everything blowing out from underneath the falls, there'd be like a big cavernous area underneath there, and
Yeah,
it'd be just whack. Like you could really
there'd be
imagine all
no
kinds of things.
plants, no plants, everything, no trees, everything's dead. There's no water there. It'd be like the Forbidden Zone in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a
The
lot.
um, the only water would be the ocean, and I'm sure that water would be so toxic, nothing could live in it. But yeah, so you're Corbin Dallas, ex Space Marine, stuck on Earth, which is basically a shithole in the future. That's why they have Flossed in Paradise. People want to go off world to better planets if they can afford to.
Yep. Living the dream.
Now in Star Trek, they always make San Francisco look perfect in the 23rd century. Everyone's got flying cars. The Golden Gate Bridge is still there. Only no cars cross the thing because all the cars are flying. So the bridge is just there as a
Monument.
museum piece, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah. And then they got the freaking Enterprise being built across the street in a dry dock somewhere. And everything's perfect, pristine, utopia, fusion power plants everywhere. Or no, antimatter powers everything on Earth. They got replicators. You just walk up to any replicator and say what you want it to make, and it makes it.
Yep. Yeah.
Everything's free.
Thought it was some sort of a credit system that they had. Um, as far because I remember reading some rules on it in some sort of an RPG book about their credit system that they had, and I'm pretty sure that was in their original Star Trek role playing game, the
Like
FASA
the
one.
okay.
Yeah, because yeah,
So
there was.
no, there was one before that, but I don't know if it mentions the economy at all.
Yeah. I know they had the basic box. We had that, and then we went ahead and got the advanced set, which gave you some extra rules, like a game master's guide that explained a few things. And then it had the integration with the Starfleet Battles box set as well. And we used to play quite a bit of that for a while. We got maybe a year or so of gameplay out of it before we ditched it and went to other things. 'Cause we were flying around on all kinds of role playing games back then. It was the Wild West because it was right at that time when first edition and then second edition was coming in, and then everybody was kind of like doing all these kind of trying different games, kind of like what we're having now, where a lot of people are like flying off of 5e now and discovering new cool things, and trying them out. And then when
Well, what were
yeah,
you flying off of back then?
well, we got
What,
into doing a lot of Travelers, Star
like what were
Trek.
you doing before Traveler?
Oh, we were playing. Okay, so we were playing, trying to play the Gamma World, the first edition AD&D. Played a lot of that, and then we were just some of us were going into second edition. Others were staying with the first edition. So it's kind of like a that crossover kind of time, and,
Now,
and it
did you
gave
ever try? Did you ever try to use D&D to do a sci-fi game?
Ted did. Ted, that's what, and that was kind of an in between thing because he thought, I'll make a role playing game where you can gain levels and stuff like that and, do all the science fiction stuff that you see in movies. And that's where he came up with the idea with this game. And it was kind of the root of how I explained an easy way for people to figure out how to role play was you take an actor, put him in a role. He could be like a cyborg or something like that. Like you take Jean Claude Van Damme. Okay, that's your character, Jean Claude Van Damme
Yeah.
playing a cyborg, and this is the situation going on hand, and you'll have another person he wants to play, the character Luther from what you call it, Runaway. What was it called? Runaway with Tom Selleck.
Oh, I don't know. I
Yeah,
never
it
saw
was
that
it
one.
was it was the Gene Simmons from Kiss. So he's playing the bad guy kind of character, but he is a scientist doing some sort of genetic modification stuff, and everybody had kind of their own little kind of quirky things. So you pick an actor, and then you play as if you were that actor playing in that kind of role. And
Yeah,
nobody
we
did.
we did
Some
that.
people did voices, some people didn't, but the
Nah, we
D&D
just
kind of made
we
it easy for us to kind of grasp the concept because everybody knew the D20 system and how that rolled and the THACO and all that stuff. So
yeah, we'd look at movie magazines and pick an actor from a scene of a movie and say that's my character.
right,
Just
right,
don't even try to make a character. Just, obvious,
but
Harrison Ford.
it's a good start. It's a good way to get a person to think, okay, I'm not me, I'm Sylvester Stallone or whoever it is that you picked. And then you
You
just
remember
try to emulate them as if they were in the movie.
remember the guy who I think he was in Sliders. He was the guy who was also in Raiders of the Lost Ark and Lord of the Rings. He played the dwarf.
Oh,
Do you know
okay.
that actor?
Bu-
The
bu- bu-
guy
bu-
with the beard. Anyway,
yeah,
I
Reese
remember
Davies something. Yeah.
back when he was doing all the things and people were always using his picture. Oh, this is my character, and they would just use his picture from
Right.
Sliders or from
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, come on.
I've seen
Like
him a
every-
million times.
Yeah, you see him a million times. Or they would use the guy from what was it? John Crichton from Farscape.
Right.
Like, there's my character using John Crichton. Some sci-fi military dude. It was kind of cool, but come on, this is back when we were role playing Quake 2. Instead of playing the video game, we're role playing the game.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. That's a
Marines
cool concept.
dropping down, going. It was all combat. I didn't know any better. I thought combat's fun, playing with paper and pencil, but eventually I figured out the video game was better. It was more. It was faster paced. The video games are using. We were using GURPS. We were using GURPS to play Quake 2, pencil and paper.
Oh,
It
that
may have been.
that reminds me. I did a thing today. Just let me
did a
come
thing.
back. Yeah. I'll be right back. I just got to go grab it.
Okay. His room is vast. Takes 6 months to journey across it and back again. Oh, he's got a big book. It's hefty. It's a hefty tome.
It's a hefty tome.
What did you bring back from the archives?
Well, Josh kind of said something about this, and he ended up
It's got
picking
a
up
ribbon.
a book. So yeah,
How many ribbons does that
it's
book
got a
have?
ribbon.
Oh heck!
He's
Is that
like,
the sixth or the seventh one? Which one
this
is that?
the fifth edition.
Okay,
I just picked it up from
that was a Kickstarter at one
Strange Ideas. I got it from his store, and it comes. And I ended up picking up the what's this called? The Storyteller's
What is that?
Toolkit. So it's a little book that
Okay. I didn't know it
it's
had that.
it's been packaged together with a screen. So this is the
Screen, yeah.
screen that gives you all the.
Is that a four
It's
panel
four.
or
It's
three
four
panel?
panel. So
Okay. Dun
see,
da da
got
da.
the whole thing
Oh
here,
wow.
roughly. Yeah, it's a
Pretty
big.
cool.
Yeah, all the charts
pretty
and all
tall.
that stuff. I'm
Oh yeah.
not sure how
Okay.
I'm gonna
Question.
traveler this.
I have
I'm gonna traveler this.
Oh, I see.
No, I mean
You're like you're like me. You buy a game and you're like, I'm gonna run this with
rules
Traveler.
rules light. No. I'm gonna stick with the rules, but I'm going to probably lighten them up in some way to make it run faster. But I don't know the mechanics of this game.
I have a question for you, human. What made you get that? Did you see a YouTube video where they were talking about it?
Josh mentioned it. He was like, I would love to play a vampire kind of game or something like that. And Spencer, you can tell from our Godforsaken game, he was interested in the vampire kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
I thought, since
what were you using for Forsaken? Was that the Numenera rules?
yeah, that's cipher system. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I could cipher system this thing.
You could.
That would be hot damn.
Use the best rule is to use rules you're familiar with.
Yeah, and that's
instead of learning something new.
It's an easy rule system. I just have to adapt a lot of maybe some of the powers and things that they get, and and adapt it to that. It wouldn't be too hard. It's very adaptable.
I played second edition Vampire Masquerade. I want to say I had the GURPS version, but it was too much crunch. So I just used the original White Wolf rules where you put your skills are 1 to 5, something like that.
Right.
And so what was the deal there? I can't remember. Something about you would roll 10. Oh, the pips were the number of dice you rolled. So if you had a skill of 5, you rolled 5 d10s, and you were looking for 6s, I think.
Okay.
Or not 6s. Okay. You were looking for 10s or 8 or above or something for successes. Something like that.
Now, have you played the Vampire the Masquerade computer game, Bloodlines or whatever it is? You've never played those.
I've watched my RPG friends play those on their YouTube channels. They had the game.
Because I know in the first vampire game that they came out with, it had the pips and everything on there. So you had a character sheet, and it had all the little little spots on the character, and then whenever you leveled up and stuff, you started to increase certain things on your character that way. I was just wondering if it was the same, if they've changed it with the new system from there, because I'm kind of familiar with that one as far as the computer game, because I played that one and the other one too.
I'm guessing the mechanics are more thorough, more advanced, or something, more to it. But I'm also guessing that the actual setting for the game is way different. Because the original setting takes place in the 80s and 90s. So they have to update it for 2020.
Yeah. And add in all the stuff about internet and the dark web and
the internet. No, they had internet in those games, but now they have the dark web. They didn't have the dark web in the 80s yet.
Well, I'm putting the dark web in this one. And it's all going to be theater of the mind.
Okay.
Always.
What I would do is I got one of those books somewhere. I had World of Darkness. It's the generic version of the game. Right. Just the rules. And I like looking in the artwork just to get ideas of how I would make my own RPG. some people are against the art style that Vampire used because they would have a photo of some goth chick. You're not sure if she's a vampire in the picture or not until you read the blurb about her. But the blurb that you're reading about her is written by a psycho killer who's stalking her, and he's writing it in someone's blood, overlaid on a thumbtacked wall with some other weird symbolism going on the pegboard. And then you find out he's got other girls or guys, or then you find out it's the girl who's doing all this writing. Yeah, it's like really creepy stuff. But they use every font. They use every font they had on the computer to put on every page.
Oh yeah,
So
that
it gets
board kind of thing.
So it gets confusing. At least for me, it would get confusing because I didn't know what was the storyteller's narration, what was going on in the player's character's head, and what was the investigator actually coming up with. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very kind of
Handwritten,
interesting.
hand typed.
I just
Photo
opening
scanned.
up very. Oh look, we have an
X-Files
iPad. We have an
times
iPad.
10. Yeah, and Call of Cthulhu's starting to do the same thing with their books.
Yeah,
Because
they do that too.
now it's modern. It's all modern now. It used to be the 1920s only, so everything was handwritten letters or maybe a typewriter. Lots of candlesticks, not much electricity in some of these places. No telephones really. Cars were Model A's and horses. A lot of horses everywhere still. But then for the millennial players, they want to play Cthulhu now. So it has to be like that movie Skyline or later. Did you ever see Skyline?
I have not seen Skyline.
The mothership is sucking people up from Los Angeles into its ship because it's after people's brains.
Nice.
And I
I
don't remember.
And in Los
how they-
Angeles.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of angst teenagers fighting a mothership. I can't remember how they
It'd be
fought
like
the ship.
it'd be like we're not very satisfied here with what we're getting. Then suddenly, oh, we got Shonner. Oh my God, all this knowledge.
No.
Overload. Ship crashes.
And then there was another movie around that same time called Battle Los Angeles or Battle for Los Angeles.
Yeah, I seen that one. That was
one's the good one and one's the bad one. So I don't know which one's the bad one. Like one's the fake version. Like there's Sharknado and then there's the fake version of Sharknado.
Battle
But
Los
they sound
Angeles
similar.
it had some pretty cool effects, but it was really bad. I thought it was.
It was
kinda,
the one I'm thinking of, the alien invasion is happening on the shore of Los Angeles. Like they're coming, they crash into the beach and they're heading inland. And it's a building by building combat with Marines.
Oh, Battle
And
with
all of
LA is what Cherry's saying.
Yeah, and the only thing you know that's going on is what you see from their point of view. You only get to see what they see down the hallway.
Right.
Or in an alley or in a
Right.
building. So if they can't see what's going on outside, then you just don't know what's going on.
And then there was Battleship. Was it called Battleship something? And then it had the
Yeah,
alien
that's-
stuff. And
That was the board game movie based on a board game. I never saw that one,
but it had aliens in it too. In the movie.
I guess.
Yeah. It was.
That one came out around the same time as Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
It's like we can do an ocean movie too that has giant. Oh, okay. The last King Kong movie had King Kong standing on an aircraft carrier with an axe, swinging at Godzilla, who had basically a planet-killing ray that came out of its mouth. I never saw it. The
Kaiju
trailer looked
Kamehameha.
ridiculous. So King Kong is perfect at using this battle axe.
Right.
and the weight of his body isn't it's not making the aircraft carrier list or tilt or sink or anything. It was just dumb.
Oh,
Like Godzilla's doing he's doing like a cannonball jump into the water with a battle axe, and Godzilla's down there shooting his mouth off with a laser coming out of his. No, it was dumb. It was stupid.
yeah.
But every seventh or eighth Godzilla movie is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
about
yeah.
the King Kong movies. I still like the first King Kong movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't care much for the one in the 70s. I didn't care much for the one in the 2000s. Was it Jack Black was in the 2001? And then was it
I
Jeff
liked
Bridges
that
was
one.
in
I
the
thought that one was pretty cool. The
Jack Black one
yeah,
or the
yeah.
Jeff Bridges one?
No, that
Yeah,
one. I mean, it had Jessica Lange in it, right?
yeah. Hang on, I gotta.
You got to recolor yourself, get a little bit more blue.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm blue. Oh no, it's stuck in my head now. Thank you very much. And you remember that from last time? Who made up those lyrics? I looked high and low for those lyrics that you
funny.
made up for that song.
So just in case anybody, I had a little bit of a wag the dog situation with Sean. I told him that the lyrics of Blue was I'm blue, I'm in need of a guy, I'm in need of a guy, and he was like he was looking up internet sites. I was like, Sean, usually I let people hang on this for a couple days before I let them on. Then I'm just gaslighting you, just giving them a. So I was nice. I told no, because there is actually a video out there where they have those lyrics, where somebody.
Oh yeah.
So just to kind of let you know, you would probably found that and then. Oh, maybe he's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one song that came out. I don't know how long ago. It's kind of popular, kind of a jingle type song. And someone took it and said, "Everyone's gay and everything's gay." That's how the main chorus is. And everything in the video is gay. But they're using some song that doesn't say that, but they changed the words.
Right. Yep.
And they did a really good job, and you just think that's the original song, and this is the video, obviously, that goes with that song. But yeah, everything's gay. I'll have to look that up on YouTube one day and watch it. See if I can watch it without laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's a popular song that they use for bumper music now on radio stations. How come I'm not seeing any comments? Why is that?
Oh, I'm not. I'm actually using StreamYards as just a launching point. I'm not using it for my stream. I'm using. I'm taking the browser, and I've
you're taking the
put it into
StreamYard
OBS, and OBS is broadcasting.
You're streaming from OBS.
I'm cheating the system. So.
Yeah, I was doing that last week as an experiment just to see how it can be done.
Yeah, it's not too hard, I just create a scene for the stream, and then I crop it properly, and then I just bring it in as a part of my whole scene.
So you're just doing one screen captures basically.
Yeah.
I had myself in the stream twice, and then I was capturing both streams, putting them into OBS's layers, blah, blah, blah. And then I added an app into the stream, the computer lady that's doing the rolling the dice thing. You probably saw that stream.
Yes. Yeah. I remember you were like doing some sort of thing, and then
I don't know if I kept that stream or not. I think I deleted it because I was just experimenting to see how to do it. And I think after doing that stream, I thought, you know what? I'll just stick with using StreamYard.
So I'm thinking, from just basically back to the original, gist of what the stream was about was basically science fiction and doing that. I'm probably going to end up doing another video on how to kind of do it, but of course, as an episodic kind of thing, so that there's
How to do an
more
episode?
material,
How to do a campaign?
yeah, we need more material out there for Traveler because I like I see I looked it up before we got started and seen that the only
What
using
things were
ultra
you looking
wide.
for?
Look, I was thinking, okay, who's got videos out there that explain all this? I know there's videos out there saying this is what Traveler's all about, and this is how you set up. You roll your characters, and then you make planets, and then you go ahead. But nobody actually pinpoints how do you put it all together? How do you get the entire group of guys that you have before you that are going to be players, and how do you make a situation that they can play through without having to go to mission on Marduk or whatever uh, you know
Yeah.
module is out there? And I think it's very valuable for game masters out there to kind of get a guideline on what to do, because some people are going into this still thinking, oh, Traveler is that game where you die, uh, they're getting that information, and they're
Yeah.
they're not understanding what actually Traveler gives you. And I
Yeah,
always
they get two things. They get the you die during Karagen, and it's D&D in space.
right, right.
So it's the same stats as D&D, only you're in space instead of in a dungeon, which is not true.
Yeah.
And Traveler doesn't have leveling up. It's not a 0 to hero thing that D&D is. They always forget that part. That's the biggest selling part for Traveler for players is, can you get them to play in a game where they're not leveling up? They're not earning XP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll whine and complain about that. You could say, well, it's kind of like your XP is the weapons, the armors, the wealth you gain, the houses you build, the starships you get to rent or buy. You get more wealth depending on what kind of game you're running. That would be your XP.
Yeah, and they
You
did.
could buy.
Yeah, they do have rules
you-
for you to advance your skills. You just commit yourself a number of weeks. I believe it's 8 weeks, and then you do a roll to see if you succeed. And that
Yeah,
is their yeah. But you as a game master, you could say, oh, it's only 3 weeks that you need in order to find to do a roll to see if you it's entirely up to you as the game master to decide what the rules
but
are for episodic, or campaign. You know.
do you remember an episodic TV show where the characters are learning a new skill while they're in jump?
See, no,
See, if
because
you make it a
nobody's
rule, then
ever.
it's gonna be a thing that they want to do every time. Oh, can we jump? Because if we jump, I can learn a new skill.
Yeah, no, no. For my games, it takes a little longer than just one jump. So, uh, it doesn't incur that kind of behavior with the players, and
It's like, oh, if I kill this monster, I get XP. So I'm gonna kill all the monsters that come near me. Stuff like that.
yeah.
Because it was a rule they saw. And then when they're making their character, they're in panic mode, thinking, "I'm gonna die." Well, it's like 1 in 24 chance that your character dies,
Yeah.
and that was 40 something years ago. And since then, it's been an optional rule that no one uses. So it's like, okay,
So
you just
yeah,
lose some stats. You can pay medicine fees or whatever to get your stats back or whatever.
and you can be in debt. You can be entirely in debt when you start off with
Oh yeah,
with your character.
I'm always in debt. My character doesn't care. he didn't care. He's gonna go find some job, some lucrative thing to do. He's after fame and fortune. And along the way, maybe he gets some glorious XP and he actually buys his youth back, but at a price. He's super wealthy, super famous, Howard Hughes, but young still. But he's like merged with an AI, or he's like, he's gonna live forever, but he has to live in a box like Christopher Pike,
Yeah.
and he talks with cybernetics to everybody or something. But he's alive. He has the brain. He has the wisdom of the universe, but he's kept in a box or something.
Then one day he gets
He's
a
only
knock on the door. Duck, 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 duck. Mr. Shawner, it's IRS, and you owe the government of Plantopolis a sum of $36 billion. Would you write us a check, or shall we just drain it from your account?
Yeah, yeah, or if you're that old, you're senile. You're 1,000 years old, but you're senile. You don't remember anything. You're crazy. They just keep you on the drip, just to keep you medicated and pain free. But I don't know. You're kept in a floating palace somewhere. No one has seen or heard of you for like the last few hundred years. You're a myth. Do you even exist? People want to steal all your stuff. The cloaking device on your floating city breaks, and everyone sees the floating city there. It's like, oh, what is that? And then everyone's making rocket ships. It's a race now to see who can excavate the floating city first and find the mythological Shawner who might still be alive in there, intact.
Hey, you
His
never
brain.
know. The entire world could be in a snow globe kind of thing, and suddenly that ruptures. And
Oh, that would suck. The dome. You're in a dome, but no one knows they're in the dome. They think they're on Earth, and it's 1990 still, but it's really a piece of Earth
It's
in a
that
dome.
crack in the
space.
sky. We see light coming
Yeah.
through, but there's stars up there. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the dome's failing. The architects of the dome have long died off. Their secrets died with them. Nobody knows where the dome is going, where it's headed.
It takes a particular type of person to be a game master for this kind of stuff, because you got to think of all these kind of weird ideas and just bring them up, just like we do now. Like, nobody prompted us. We didn't write anything down saying this is what we're going to talk about, the dome and the no. It was just you just come up with an idea, and it just flourishes from there. Where there are a few game masters out there that can't think on that kind of, where they have to have the module, they have to have the ideas put towards them.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was in panic mode all the time because I thought, oh, I'm never going to be a DM because you have to read the rules for the adventure and have them all memorized and know where the players are going, so you know what to read to them next, and you have to have it all organized. You don't want the players waiting while you're looking up stuff in the adventure. You need to be like this, knowing what happens next
But
to the party. And I was worrying about all this stuff. I didn't know back then what a railroad was. I never heard of such a thing. I didn't know there was such a thing because I didn't stay in the loop long enough to find these out. I just assumed it's just hard. It's just too hard to run a D&D game. But if you railroad your players and just tell them a story, it's easy peasy to run a game. Because you're not playing D&D. You're just telling them a story. You're telling them your create an adventure. The DM's playing a solo create your own adventure game, and he just has his friends over to roll dice for him to see what happens next to his NPCs.
what was
The
it
players
that
aren't really doing anything.
what was it that made you snap and suddenly go, "Oh, wait a second, I'm doing this all wrong," and then you started doing it this way, with the
Well, in 82, 83, 84-ish, I realized, hey, you know what? I'm not having fun. This is not fun for me. I was sold a bill of goods here that you could be your own character, you could be in your own adventure, create your own stories, you could be in your own story, you can be in someone else's story, be a hero, and it just wasn't working. That was not happening. The games were slow, tedious. You're hanging on whatever the DM drops as crumbs on the table for the players. That's all you have to go with. Nobody's role playing. Everyone's playing Clue or Battleship, trying to guess where the enemy is and if they hit it or not. And I was like, what are we doing here? I was told on the commercials, you make a character, you go and do the things, you're legendary heroes. Why aren't we those things? Are we the baddies? You know. So around 83, 84, that's when the computer games started up. So I was playing computer games. And I thought, oh, this is more like it. Okay, this is okay. I get it now. This is how D&D is supposed to be. Okay, I get it. You go in here, it's in real time, boop, 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 killing the things, getting seeing your XP going up, boop, 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 leveling up, boop, 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 new level to go through. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, this game's dumb. And then I'd go and look for something else to do for like the longest time. But then, while this was happening, I'm buying the GURPS books that were coming out religiously. Every week, I go to the game store, buy 3 or 4 GURPS books. Boom, 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 boom. That went on from like, 87-ish to current day Earth. No, I guess I stopped around 2004. 2005. That's basically when GURPS stopped making GURPS books.
Right.
It was Munchkin. Steve Jackson he wasn't supporting GURPS anymore except in PDF form, and I wasn't going to spend $9 for a 10-page PDF. That's crazy talk. So I just bought any hardcover or softcover books that came out and hope for the best that it would be a setting I liked, because they were all setting books powered by GURPS, or you had to have GURPS to run the setting with. And that was when I was like, okay, I've got all this source material, all these setting books. By now I should know how I should be able to run a game. I should have it's here.
Right.
It's locked away. It's obviously not in the GURPS manual or the player's book or the GM guide. No. It's somewhere in here. And I was like, okay, I gotta search. And I searched high and low for a game system that you could role play in without interference from the game mechanics. I didn't want to play game mechanics. I wanted to role play with some game mechanics. All these role play games say you roll the dice when something interesting is going to happen, or if there's a chance of failure or success, something interesting, something based on how good your character is at doing something. I was like, okay, a chance of randomness to happen. Otherwise, it's just 100% storytelling. And I thought, okay.
Was this with? Did you come to this realization through somebody's example of roleplay, or were you just coming up?
My very first D&D game session I was in was run by a dungeon master who did Mindscape, no prep, no maps, no minis. We're just sitting around a coffee table, and we're hardly... I was waiting for the part where we roll the fancy dice. He only had one D20, and he would hold it in his hand while he's telling us stuff. And I'm like... Okay, I came here to roll dice. What are we doing exactly? My friend invited me here to play D&D, and I saw it done in high school. You guys are rolling all kinds of dice, and I'm not saying anything. I'm being nice. I'm being polite. I'm drinking my Pepsi Free or whatever it was called back then. And he didn't say, "What do you do?" He just looks at me. I'm like, and I think my friend nudged me, and he says, "What's your character doing?" Oh, and then I kind of like think of something to say, hoping I don't sound stupid. And I say my character, he's in the laboratory and he's found this thing he's discovered, and he's going to examine it further using the tools that he has. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was told I was the tech guy in the game. I was like, okay. And then but the DM wanted more from that. He wanted more than just that. He wanted to know exactly what I was after. What did I want to find out about the device? Now, I don't remember how he phrased it, but I basically said my character wants to know how it was used the last time it was used. And then I've told this story before. And then
Right.
he poofs me in, the orb lights up. Because I rolled, depending on how I rolled, I don't remember what I rolled, but the orb goes, it lights up in my hand, and I'm teleported to this high castle somewhere where there's a wizard, and he says, I've been looking for that, and he grabs it from me, and then he sends me down a bottomless pit. I just thought that was the coolest thing. Is like, I got to roll a die, I got to do something, and now I have consequences to pay for it. This is a cool game. Now, the whole game was like that. It was just the me making up something, not being told, no, you can't do that, or are you sure you want to do that,
Right.
or your character would never. I'm trying to role play in a game I've never role played yet ever in my whole life. First, anyway, every D&D game after that was, what do you do? Everyone roll for perception or initiative or sneak or whatever, or
Yeah.
and we're all sitting around a table eating food, chit-chatting, out of character, talking about Doctor Who, which I didn't watch, or Blackadder, which I didn't watch, or the other things. They're talking about better games they were in. It's like, oh, come on, really? Now I feel horrible being with you guys if there was better games you were at. So I stopped going to those games, and I just remembered how bad they were. So in high school, I would see the same stuff going on during lunchtime with the players, and they say, Driscoll, we need an elf character. Can you be an elf character? I said, can I just play this one time? I don't want to be in your campaign, your glorious mega dungeon. I'll play for half an hour. Just give me a character. I'm not making the character. Just give one. Just make one. And my character died. Like, I shoot the arrow. I was shooting an arrow up the stairs, trying to hit the lamp oil thing to make it come down, because some guy up there was shooting at us, and I missed. And
Very anticlimactic.
I got like a lightning bolt to the face. I was torched alive. I died instantly.
Sad things our characters went through back then.
I pushed my little character sheet back to the dungeon master. Here you go.
I'm done.
And I went back to what I was doing. It was like, the guys played all year long playing that way. It's like, really? You guys are... There's other games. By then, Traveler was out. There's other games out there. I was trying out some other stuff. Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest. Everyone says RuneQuest is better. It's a better animal than D&D. It uses the D100. I'm like, okay. So I tried that. I'm like, oh, man. Got to do all these calculations to figure out what to roll under. I get a plus 5%. I get a minus 10%. Get a plus 20%. Plus 4%. And I'm rolling for 100 or 99 or how these dice work. Because we didn't have percentile dice back then. We had D20 dice, and they were numbered 0 through 9 twice. I'm like, okay, we use these weird dice. Okay, the brown one is the 1, and the blue one is the 10. Okay, I got it.
Just for people to know, Shauner and I are like barely a year apart, so
Yeah.
we can relate to a lot of this stuff. People are not understanding a D20 with zeros and all the way to 9s on both sides. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I found out what a curve was, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look for games that use a bell curve. And a 3d6 sounded like a decent curve, and that's what champions used and
Right.
heroes used. So I was into that for a while, not playing the game, but just reading up the rules, seeing if I like it, converting what I could to the computer, because I was playing computer games at that point. So I was buying RPGs to see what I could use in a computer game that I was writing. And then when GURPS came out, I'm like, oh, this is the holy grail. This will work perfect on a computer, which it did. I never thought of playing the game by hand. It belongs in a computer. Anyway, so fast forward to 2008. That's when I saw Mongoose Traveler at the bookstore. First edition. I was reading it and I said, what? The rules are, okay, this is like Classic Traveler, but better. Like way better. Insanely better. So I bought it on the spot. Played the heck out of it with people on YouTube, trying it out, seeing how to streamline it even further. Because I was competing with guys playing World of Darkness, which had about the same amount of crunch. They're both second gen RPGs at this point. We're all doing videos on this stuff, like what are the pluses and minuses of Mongoose Traveler versus World of Darkness second edition. Who's the better one? And then you get the one guy who says, Call of Cthulhu 5th edition is the one, there's always that guy.
Right.
So everyone had their, and then there was different versions of, like Mongoose had RuneQuest 2 out, and people were comparing with that. And then there was, what was it? There was, various Cthulhu. Oh, this is when the zombie games hit us. There was like a tide of zombie games washing ashore. All shall be eaten, or something like that, or all something will be eaten. All flesh
will
shall be eaten. Yeah, everyone was playing that one, and then that went to there was a bunch of Gamma World clones, not clones, but lookalikes that were coming out. Mutant Epoch was one. And that was it was designed to look like a mix between the Marl Project and Gamma World. And the font was so small I could not read the pages of that book. So I gave up. But I wanted so badly to play it. It was a D100 system. You could make your own mutant character. It was zany, gonzo. I didn't know what gonzo was until I read that book. Once I found out what gonzo was, I'm like, okay, enough of this. This is too crazy. Because Total Recall is gonzo. Near the end of the movie, you see the girl with the 3 boobs, the guy with the other guy coming out of his chest.
Right.
Stuff like that. It was like, okay, this is mutant stuff. I was more of an X-Men mutant, where the atomic bomb created some mutants with superpowers, latent powers that develop when you're a teenager, and
not necessarily physical mutations, but more abilities.
Yeah.
Kind of like.
Yeah, there's Homo sapiens, and they were Homo superior. That was how they were classified. And the government was going around rounding them up and putting them in concentration camps. I thought that was the coolest thing that happened to the X-Men.
Civil War thing.
So then you could feel sorry for the muties and stuff like that. And then I was looking for RPGs that were like that kind of thing. So I found, and then there was Dungeon Crawl Classics, used the weird dice, did the thing. Anyway. So I settled with Mongoose Traveler. It had just the amount of crunch. The rules are neatly packed in the front of the book. The rest is just fluff.
It's great.
I like books that have rules in the front and the fluff is the rest of the book. So it's easy to look up stuff. And I don't use all the rules. I don't use combat rounds. I don't use initiative. I use role play. It's mentioned in the book, the role play, So I use it. A lot of RPGs don't mention roleplay at all. They say you choose a character class that fits a role in the game. What? You are the healer. You are the fighter. You are the wizard. You are the, whatever. The
Yeah,
thief.
yeah. Very, very computer gamey kind of thing. That I blame that because everything got converted to computer games, and they had to have that balancing thing, and they had to make it correct so that everything could be calculated with the computer a lot easier, and it
Yeah.
snowballed from there. I was kind of like, I know my buddy Ted was very theater of the mind and rules kind of back, like he never played with a screen, never played with like anything in front of him. He just had maybe a piece of paper which had some notes scribbled on it. I was like, how the hell does he do this? How does he come up with all this stuff? We're going through a cave and all this stuff. We were playing D&D, like the first edition, second edition, and he played it all theater of the mind, and it was a fantastic experience. We played eh, 6 7 years. I'm still in contact with him, but um, it was weird because back then, and this was in the 80s 90s. That's what we did. We didn't have the minis or anything. We couldn't afford that stuff. And then when I came back to uh, playing games again, which was after 2004, I started looking up stuff, and I got into a group with Castles and Crusades, and they played it through the tabletop, and it was all very, like we see,
Yeah.
going down the corridor, and there was very little. It was like role play was kind of tacked on top of it a little bit, but in the end, it was a board game with some with some role play aspect, and everybody else was playing 3.5, and it was like, okay, well, that's the way it goes. That's the way we're playing, and that's when I encountered you and started going, okay, well then how do we play these? Uh, because everything's built on kind of the board gamey aspect. How do we play this as a theater of the mind? Of course, the answer is you don't. You play you go ahead and find a system which works really well with theater of the mind and go from there. And that's Traveler,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. Yeah. There was the Mongoose Traveler, which it has. I think it still has examples in the current edition where the players just say what their character's doing, and then the referee decides how difficulty the task is. And the players know what skill and what attribute to use. They're not told by the GM. They're just told what the difficulty is, and then they say, "Oh, marginal success." And then the thing I do is I let the players narrate their successes. I narrate the failures. Now I don't know if that's in the Traveler rules officially or not. That's something we come up with in the social contract before we begin the game, or we'll flip it and I'll say, okay, players narrate their failures. I narrate their success. Just to make things different, depending on what the tone of the game is, the themes, all that kind of stuff. But I tried to get the examples to match the rules, because oftentimes when a book updates their rules, they don't update the examples of the game session to match the new rules.
Yeah.
So that gets confusing. Like, okay, he rolled a +2, but he was adding it to this instead of to this, and the rules say you add it to this. So I try to make the examples fit. Now, World of Darkness was the other game out there that had storytelling in it, basically. That's where you literally are describing a scene from a film.
Hmm.
You say the camera, it's black, and the camera fades to the scene. The camera's pointing at these characters either from the ceiling or from eye level or far away. The storyteller says where the camera is pointing at.
Gotcha.
So you get a point of view.
That's where we're going
So the
to
players,
discover some stuff in this one and maybe adapt it.
Yeah, most players just take the parts that they need. They don't use all of it. Because the game is designed to run several campaigns in parallel. So you have a campaign for a few friends on a Tuesday night, and then on Thursday night you have a campaign for some other friends, and they're all in the same city. You're using the same map, the same NPCs, but the players in this group never meet the players in this other group. But they hear about each other in each other's campaigns. So you do that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Your world building, city building, character building, all that kind of stuff. And you do that multiple times. And they did it on YouTube once, and it was kind of cool where they had several live streams happening at once on YouTube, and players would take their characters from one live stream to another live stream. Like I say, I'm going to take the trolley. I'll be in this town in like half an hour. So a half an hour later, they pop into their live stream. They've now arrived at the train station.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool.
That's clever.
And a different storyteller is running each stream, but they all know about the world. They all share the map. They all know about the map that they're all running in. And the players meet the NPCs that are in that stream, and do the things.
That'd be
that went on.
That would be
that
cool.
Was the Gentleman Gamer.
Yeah,
he ran that. He organized it along with Andre. What was his name? I can't remember his name. He was the guy that had a spreadsheet of what players were in the current campaigns and current storytellers on which. This was Facebook at the time they were using to meet up with and organize when these streams would start and end. And then on top of that, you had maybe 50 or 60 live streams of just two players talking to each other in character without a storyteller. And you could watch what they're doing. Like they're planning on doing something.
Right. Everybody can metagame.
Yeah. But this was just vampires.
Yeah.
It wasn't the werewolf one. It wasn't the mummy one or the Frankenstein one or the ghost one. They had so many of those games.
Well, Sean, it's getting to be the 3-hour mark on this video.
Okay.
And I'm making kind of a series here, which is basically a mind's eye. So, to kind of get people more aware of, this kind of role play kind of theater of the mindscapes, that kind of a feel. So I think more videos upcoming where we can talk about kinds of things like that with other people, bring them in and things. So it's cool having you on and doing this once again, finally on my channel. But yeah, thanks, man, for popping on in. And yeah, it's been a good, delightful talk, and I got some good insight.
Thanks for writing me.
Right on. All right, guys. Thanks again. If you feel like it, do the subscribe thing and all that other stuff. I know I'm getting, ads on my YouTube. Feel free to go ahead and use the ad blocker.